All righty. Just getting it set. Testing 1, 2, 3. And copy. Oops. Copy. Copy. Oops. Oops. Copy. Copy. Okay. Oops. Here we go. Copy. Hello, Ken. Can you hear me? All right. There's one. Just putting some links up. Live stream. All righty. I think we've got it going here. Hello, testing 1, 2, 3. Waiting for ones to show up. Hey, Frank, how's it going?
Hey, how you doing, Chad?
Doing really good.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you just fine. Can you hear me?
Yep, perfect. I just had to reset my mic.
Wonderful. So how's it going down there in Line 6 land?
It's going well, man. Very, very busy. Lots of stuff going on.
Oh, I bet.
We've got obviously NAMM coming up. We've got new products to announce at NAMM, which are obviously right at the end of the cycle, so it's busy. Just a lot going
on. And you know, obviously off the live cast, we'll be talking some more. So.
Yep.
So looks like we got Ken on here and just talking about gear and tomfoolery and NAMM and I went ahead and made arrangements at the same place we ate last year
The place in Orange.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good.
For the Friday night, and it made it a little bit earlier so people could do things afterwards. Come by around 6.
Yeah, good idea.
That'll fit it so they can have after events, and you know, if they've got people they want to go see perform, we can get the eating done early. And
well, if it's anything like last year, the time flew. I had to catch a flight. I actually will potentially have to catch a flight again this year, although I'd rather fly Saturday morning. I'm going back to Boston after the show.
Okay.
So we'll see, but either way, it was like I was there for like 3 hours and it just flew.
Yeah, it did. It was really fun. I'm thinking we're going to have at least double. So I reserved it for 40 instead of 20. I know we beat our estimation last year.
Yeah, I think 30 is definitely a good bet.
Yeah, easily 30. And I already know Paul Shedden from Mission is going to be there with,
cool.
with his business partner.
Cool.
Yeah. Hey, Ken, your mic.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. It's a little broken up. Do you have headphones?
I have my earbuds in right now. Is there a dial-in number by any chance?
No dial-in number. This is just just this.
That's better.
Yeah, it sounds good. So yeah, so the NAMM dinner should be good, and I know that some other stuff is going to happen. I know you probably don't have those details.
I don't have details, but I mean, I'm happy to talk about it. I'm trying to arrange an after-hours event at our booth, hopefully for Thursday night, and just a chance to come in with the show's closed. You get to take a look around our booth, and talk to the Line 6 folks who will be there. And maybe have a bite to eat or something, but I'll get more detail as in the coming week. Actually, we've got some planning meetings, so that would be really cool. That'd be on Thursday, right after the show. The plan is right after the show ends, and maybe we'll have some cool dudes there to talk, and we'll see how it pans out. But we're working on it.
Excellent.
One thing to note too, because we are in the Marriott building, not actually in the convention center proper, you actually don't need a NAMM badge to get in. So people who live local can come swing by and check it out. Now, as you know, parking is not going to be real easy if you're just coming to say hello. But aside from that,
yeah, I remember last year we actually parked when we came down there. For the different days, we parked in the Marriott. I think it was like $50 a pop, but hey, it's worth it.
Well, I think it's worth it.
So now I know that Eric has dropped some hints about the HX reverbs.
Yep.
Is there anything more you can talk about, or is that all still?
No. It's. I think he even said they're very close to done. Reverbs have a lot of code. Ben has a lot of work to do on them, and I think a lot of folks thought you just move over the reverbs from HD over whatever. It's not like that. These are complete rewrites, and they take a lot of time to do them right. And as you know, Ben and Sam pride themselves in doing them right. So what I understand is they're just about done. They're obviously not going to make 2.3.0. That's in beta now. That's looking really good. But early next year, I think you'll see the next release will have at least 3 new reverbs, which folks have been asking for a while.
Well, yeah. I'm looking forward to those, and NAMM's going to be interesting this year, and I'm looking forward to being part of it. And coming
it's going to be great to see you, man. It was great last year. We had a great meal. It was just a really good show, and I suspect this year is going to be just as good or better.
Very good. And
lots of cool stuff from Line 6.
And you're not going to be there on the Monday when we come down to Line 6 headquarters, but
unfortunately, no, that's a bummer, because I know last year you guys came up and you went to lunch with Eric and get the grand tour, and I wish I was here. But the thing is, I got I got to be back in Boston with my grandkids for a couple things, so I have to go. But I'll catch up with you guys one of these times for sure.
Oh, I'm sure of it. So, anything else that we haven't talked about that?
Well, yeah, not on the NAMM front. One of the things, somebody on the page 2 days ago, I think, suggested a podcast, and so a Line 6 podcast. And so I talked to a couple of my guys here. We got Will, who's our service lead, our support leader. He's on the phones. If you've called Line 6, there's a good chance you talk to Will. Great guy, and he's done podcasts before, and we were just kind of kicking it around. And there's another guy here who used to work in service who also has done them before, and they're thinking about putting together, a monthly half-hour podcast where they'll do, maybe some kind of user questions early on, even like patch reviews, things like that, and then some interviews with folks here like Eric and Ben and Sam and the Igor, the guys behind the scenes in Helix, and anything else they can kind of dream up. So they're planning it now. So we would hope, we get a plan together, and maybe in the next few months they put something together. That would be pretty cool. We'll obviously let you know on the Facebook group, and but it will be really cool. Just give another bit of content and another way to connect with you guys and answer questions and do things like that. So.
Well, I know that you are extremely busy, and you've all been very busy. In fact, I've noticed kind of a dip in not just because you were out of town, but like even from Eric and everybody in the group. So you guys almost have your nose to the grindstone with what you guys have been doing. Don't forget about the Friendly Gear Freaks forum that I started. It's actually doing pretty well. We're upwards of like 700 members now.
Yeah, I saw it. It looks great, and you get a lot of members. I'll start spending more time there. I literally have been around the world in 2 weeks. So I to be fair, I was back here in LA last week. So, but I was just so buried in work. I haven't been doing much of anything, to be honest with you, other than getting caught up. But I will start to make my presence there much more regular.
And I have taken the forum, the Facebook group by storm with a certain set of patches that I created. It sort of took over. I've actually looked at the stats, and my OTB presets that do not use a cab or an IR.
I've been reading it, Chad. It looks really interesting. Unfortunately, I'm not the guy. Eric or Ben or one of those guys will understand it because I don't. But it looks really intriguing.
Yeah, I was surprised that actually I was expecting more of a 50-50. You know how people are. They like, oh no, that's horrible. I like IRs, and
yeah.
I was actually surprised at how some people are taken back by it. I mean, it sort of taken off, but
well, the examples I heard were pretty impressive. So I'm going to dig into it more, and I'm sure Eric and Ben and those guys will have something to say about it too. I haven't talked to them at all. To your point, everybody's nose to the grindstone right now. This is pre-NAMM hell.
So how is, if you can speak to it, I know that I put up and this is a good reminder for people, in the pinned post of the Facebook group is the Helix native post trial survey. Has that information been helpful?
Yes, absolutely been helpful, because we're trying to find out, as you know, through the questions, where exactly people who aren't sure what they're thinking, and it's been very helpful. The team are taking all of that, as well as the initial survey that went out a couple months ago, or it was literally right after the trial expired, I think, the first set of trials, and taking all that data and learning from it, and adjusting. So it's been great. We thank you for that. It's very helpful.
Well, I appreciate being able to be used. I know that I know that every little piece of data will be helpful, and just if I can be any part of it, where I'm at. So
Absolutely.
So how is your, speaking of your grandkids, I know you just came back from a visit. How's that? How are
Awesome. My grandkids are awesome. It's a bit of a task to go across the country every month to see them, but they're that valuable. So it's great. I love spending time with them, especially after getting back from China. That was a really long China trip, and it wasn't just to Hong Kong. It was into not even our offices in Chang'an. I was to the far west of China visiting a few factories, and it was grueling.
So what's your when you go to China, what's your favorite style of food you eat there?
Oh, I love traditional Chinese food. So, and by the way, that's pretty much all I eat when I'm there because, I don't like KFC or McDonald's or whatever, and that's about all you're going to get in China. In Hong Kong, it's a different story, but in China, it's mostly the Chinese, traditional Chinese, lazy Susan meal, where it just keeps coming. Typically, but my director of ops is there, or one of our suppliers is taking us out, and they're ordering, but the stuff just keeps coming and coming, and really good food. I love Chinese food.
Yeah, my favorite is the Szechuan style.
Yeah.
And when we were down at NAMM last year, we found a place that had some authentic hot and spicy food. I really like the hot and spicy Szechuan, but this was, it was phenomenal. And they put some sort of ingredient in there that actually numbs your lips, and you can eat it. It's hotter than it seems.
I don't know if that's an ingredient or a chemical.
It could be. So, NAMM's looking good. You're planning for that. Hey, Jared, how's it going?
Hey, good. How are you?
Good.
Good, Jared.
Welcome. So,
thank you.
How did you like, Jared? How did you like the Mission Gemini 2?
I liked it. I still have to go. I got to go get a cable so I can hook it up stereo. But so far, it's really good. I like the features. It's definitely got a lot of power. It's your head off if you want it to. It's got a lot of juice.
Very cool.
It'll keep up with the drum kit, no problem.
Yeah, the only experience I have with one like that is the Firehawk 1500, and yeah, that takes your head off pretty good. So.
Yeah, I can imagine. Now, isn't the Firehawk a modeler as well as a cab, or?
Yeah, it's an FR with Bluetooth. It's got 6 speakers in it. It's got a 1-inch horn, and it's got a two biaxial speakers, and then one subwoofer, 12-inch speaker, and it sounds amazing. I'm glad I have it, and you bypass the modeling when you go into the monitoring.
Oh, I see. So you can hook your Helix up to it, and then it just bypasses all that.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah. I see. All this time, I didn't know that Line 6 made a cab for the modelers. I had no idea.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people who have said, well, just give us one without the modelers. And as Eric has pointed out, that would only save maybe a tiny bit. And then what you're losing is actually kind of pretty big. What happens if you do need a backup? You've got a built-in backup right there. So.
Yep, I had no idea. Now, the funny thing is they called it the Firehawk, which is the same thing as the
Firehawk effects.
Yeah, it got me confused because everybody was talking about Firehawk, and I'm like, they already what?
It has the Firehawk FX modeling built into it. But.
Yeah, they probably should have called it something else.
Yeah, you know what? You're probably right.
Yeah, because it confused me. I honestly, I would have bought something like that, but I had no idea that Line 6 made a cab for the modeler. So I went ahead and bought the Friedman cabs.
Mm-hmm. Great product.
Oh my God. I'll tell you what, you know, the Friedman cabs, so far, they pretty much got it as far as the sound goes. Between, you know, I haven't dialed in the Mission 100% yet. It sounds fantastic, don't get me wrong. The Friedmans are so tight and ballsy. They're just really, they're real punchy. And I'm a metal guy, so I like something that is going to punch me in the face. Like every chug, all the riffing and the palm mutes and everything, you can feel them. They have that girth and that weight behind them. It feels like you're playing strings that are this big around. You know what I mean? It's what it sounds like. It's just huge.
They are great products. I've heard them here. I've heard them several places, and they're killer. And Mission makes a great product too. Mission makes that's another fantastic product. Those Freemans, though, man, my God.
It's just balls for days.
I've not heard either the Mission or the other the Friedman in person, but I can imagine that they're quality. Jared, have you tried the OTB presets yet?
No, I was going to do that tonight, but I had to choose between this and and I figured I wanted to talk to you. I've never talked to you before, or Frank. Now, Frank, I've seen you on.
Yep.
Now, are you're affiliated with Line 6 or?
I'm the senior director of operations.
Oh, well, geez.
It's interesting because we've never really done this before, but when Helix released, we really knew across the company that we needed to, connect with our customers very closely, listen to them, react, because it's such a high tier product. It's an expensive product, and the support for it should, represent that level of premium product. And so it was our goal to, understand what customers wanted, adjust our service offerings, make sure we were responsive. And part of that was getting out to the gear page. And when Chad started this group, it's just a perfect place to connect. And it's, this isn't any of our job titles. The people who are on these forums are doing it because pride in the product, genuine, want to connect with our customers. Myself, Eric Klein, who's the genius behind Helix, he's the product designer who pretty much invented it. Ben Adrian, who writes all the code for the models, he's on both Facebook and Gear Page quite a bit. Igor, the guy who pretty much architects the software code, is also a member. So we have several people. Joe Bentavenia, my boss, who's the chief operating officer, is on, not on Gear Page, but on the Facebook group quite often, actually.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah, and he reads it every day. And Marcus Ryle, our president and founder of Line 6, reads. He doesn't participate because he's a very busy guy, but he reads all this stuff. And we really, when I say we listen to you guys, we have our idea scale, process and site to take formal, requests and groom them that way. But we also are taking feedback from you guys, service feedback and actual product feedback daily on these social media sites.
That's awesome to hear.
I frankly don't think you can be in business nowadays without this level of contact. I really don't. I think 5 years from now, it'll be odd if a company doesn't have, almost full-time representation.
Yeah.
I've got something to say on that, and there is some real truth in that. If you look at what I did starting this Facebook group back before it started, nobody was doing the groups the same way. Fractal was using one of the groups. By the way, I love Fractal stuff too, so this is not a dig per se, sort of a kudos. We have beat the largest modeling group, the big group. They're like 9,600 members. We have 10,700. So
And they've been around longer with the X effects.
They've been around since 2008. This group started 2 years ago. So
wow.
So that says something about the customer service and the dedication that the team is offering. But back when people started to release different things like Headrush, I actually started the Headrush group for Headrush because I thought, well, I'll start one. They still don't get it. There's like 500 members in the Headrush group.
Wow.
But the other day, the new Moore, I don't even know how to pronounce it. Mooer.
Yeah, Moore. Yeah.
Yeah, the GE200. Yeah, they're following what we've done. So, Frank is absolutely on point with companies. You're going to have to do that.
Well, there's always the your own internal stuff. Like we have our own forum, which, believe it or not, I actually don't spend a lot of time on because our service guys and there's an established set of folks here who already kind of patrol and monitor that. But I think it's not as genuine when it's on your forum. When it's on Chad's forum, and this is Chad's forum. I mean, this is his thing. You guys are all signed up to Chad's forum.
Yeah.
Or the gear page where, in fact, you have to state who you are and you got to play by the rules. It's a lot more genuine when you're actually out there in the public willing to take the hits because, things go good, things go bad, and you got to be willing to take the smack to the face every now and again. But for us, it's been invaluable. We'll never go back to not doing this.
Well, Frank, I got to commend you, honestly, for having that mindset because I'm a business owner myself, and I do pressure washing. And I also do a show called Tone Wars that I'm building up right now. And if you don't listen to people, if you don't listen to your customers who are handing you cash for your services or your products, that if you get too heady with what you're doing, people stop handing you that cash and they go to somebody who did listen to them.
Absolutely.
And something I've always liked about Line 6 is that you guys build products that, guitar players design them, the engineers make them happen.
That's exactly the way it works, by the way. Exactly. Yeah. By the way, the engineers are guitar players themselves, so it's not like it's lost in translation. It's completely with it. This is a guitar place. It's unbelievable, actually.
Oh, it's nice. Well, and the last person I want me cooking my steak is a vegan. And that's really what it is. I mean, you guys aren't. There's so many companies out there that are vegans cooking steaks, and they're like, well, why don't you like it? And it's like, well, you don't understand what it is that I'm looking for.
That's right. That's a great analogy, actually.
Yeah, and you guys are all meat eaters, and it's like it's great. Like you guys get it. So
well, listen, I really appreciate that feedback. We do. The second we start building products for us and not you is the second we may as well pack it up because the cycle now is so quick now. It used to be you release a product, you put it out, and then you sit back and wait and see if people like it. And then if they don't like it, you maybe make some changes or you scrap it and move to the next product. Nowadays, it's an organic thing. You release a product, you immediately are starting to make changes to the product, be it particularly in firmware in our business, but you immediately start to change and customize the product to what the customer wants right away. Because if you don't, you're just an idiot. Why if the customer is telling you what they want to give you money, to your point, what they want to give you money for.
Exactly.
Give it to them, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it was the same with me with pressure washing. I mean, people there, I saw a need for this or that for people's houses when I was washing them, and it's like if I don't have that product on my truck to take care of rust or mold or whatever else they're dealing with, then I've disappointed that customer, and they'll probably pay me for my services today, but next time they need somebody, they're not calling me.
And when you can whip out that can of whatever for something specific to their problem, they remember that. They remember that. You know what? I had an issue. You took care of it. I wasn't even expecting it. That's delighting the customer, right? That's going beyond. And that's well, exactly. And it's called being a professional. It's like
I'm supposed to come prepared for whatever it is that you need, and I'm supposed to be experienced enough to know that you probably have rust on your home from your sprinklers. You probably have mold and mildew. You probably have algae. You probably have bird crap or whatever. And I have to have the products that are I could take that off with without you having to ask me.
Sure.
You know, but at the same token, I have to be open enough for you to ask me for something that just maybe I've never dealt with before, and I got to keep my playbook flexible enough to be able to go in there and take care of that. And I've really found that you guys really do that, you know, and I really appreciate that.
Thank you. Well, I'll tell you, you'll see the support for this product isn't going anywhere. Helix is a baby in terms of product life cycle. It's built with additional functionality and power that's not even being utilized yet. So it's got a ton of room to grow, and the folks here want to do nothing but make it like incredible. So it's a great combination because the people building it, the engineers working on it, are just as pumped up as the customers waiting for the, you know, the latest functionality or amp models or effects or whatever.
Yeah.
And they've got this roadmap that is spectacular. I mean, I looked at it.
I think it's great. Yeah, I went from the HD 500 to the HD 500X to the Helix, and I can't tell you how much I love this product. I loved it right away. And in fact, the first time we played a show, we went on this really nice stage here at Crowfoot Ballroom in Pontiac, Michigan. And all the guys that run sound there are all Full Sail graduates. So they come up there and they looked at my pedal board. They're like, oh my God. And they're like calling each other down. And we're doing like a blow and go set, you know, and they're all like, hang on, we want to look at this thing. And they're like, it's got this and that. They're like drooling over the thing. And they're like, dude, I can't wait to hear this. And they loved it. They absolutely loved it.
You want to make sure you have your protector, right?
What's that?
Instead of anyone drilling, you want to make sure you have your protector.
Oh, yeah.
Outdoor gigs, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, it was really interesting to see, you know, to see their faces. And, you know, because a lot of times with what I'm seeing with people now is that, you know, some of the sound guys used to be like so close-minded. They'd be like, oh, you got a digital thing, but now they're actually becoming more adapted to that thought process, and they're actually liking them now. They're like, oh, cool, I don't have to mic this thing.
That's starting to change, and that's one of the things that will drive, I think, the kind of the digital revolution is that stages, or the requirements for quiet stages are just starting to grow just because it's the way people want to do it now. Club owners want to do it, and you're starting to see I think you're going to start to see a lot more requirement to have direct capability to front of house. And I think that the guys who are getting into it now and figuring out what kind of combination, because it's not all or one, as you know, it's, you know, as long as you can send something to the front of the house, you can have your stage sound however you really want it. Ears or whatever you want to do, actually. And that's the key with the Helix is it's flexible to do whatever you want to do and whatever the venue requires. And venue requirements will drive a lot of this, I think. I know,
exactly.
Praise and worship. There's tons. I think there are 2,200 members over in that Facebook group because you know, worship stages are mostly quiet, and so direct in front of house is huge. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's every sound man's dream, is to be able to control all of the sound, not just some of it. And the Helix and products like that really help people to do that. And you know, I'm a sound engineer too, and I run sound for my band at times, and I've ran sound at other venues, and then to control a console and not having to tell people, hey, can you turn your amp down because you're actually louder than the FOH right now? Because you know what I mean? I've actually had to say that to people, like, dude, you're killing the FOH, and they're
multiple
just like,
times. Really? It keeps creeping up, right?
Yeah, and you see that clown, he's always reaching back, and you're like, man, I almost want to get a laser pointer and like hit, you know, like, yeah, that's a gun. Okay. I have my sights on you.
Let me take a minute and remind everybody that we're in the middle. Actually, we're in the middle of a couple contests. A while back, Joe, Line 6, the COO, authorized the meme contest, and
They were great.
and there's the meme of the Line 6 Helix meme group that is out there. You know, you go and you put up funny memes about Helix, and that prize will be those three G10 wirelesses will be released on the day that 2.3 firmware is released. So
Sorry, you guys, I got a dog barking. Hold on.
Oh, cool. I want to check that out.
And then two, I have my contest that I'm giving away. Let's see if we can get there. There it is. There it is. Oh, I'm giving away my personal JTV 59 with the case and some other stuff. And then Mission has thrown a Line 6 Mission expression pedal, the one that doesn't require the switch. It's not for the rack. I'm getting confused. One of them, the one that's not for the rack.
Oh, okay, that's the one I got. Yeah.
And so
Nice pedal.
that's one of the giveaway announcements there. So it's sort of a growing. That's December 1st. That's gonna get chosen and announced, and really it's about the friendlygearfreaks.com. So back to the scheduled tomfoolery here.
I'm really glad that you invited me onto this, Chad. I really appreciate it very much. This is my first time doing any kind of feed. I got on here late because I had to download the app, and I had to do a handstand and run around the yard, and I mean, it's like it's crazy getting all set up for it. But now I'm good.
I would do more of these, but there's been, I mean, with a group of 10,700, you think you could throw up just about any time, say, hey, I'm going to do a live stream. And frankly, the last few times I've tried one has been kind of a bust. So
Weird.
Yeah, so I kind of backed away for a while, and this one's very successful, and I'm glad everybody showed up and came on here. But it's kind of, nobody wants to just tune in to see Chad just here go, hey, does anybody want to come on?
I'm good with it.
Yeah. Well, Frank, Frank, let me ask you if you don't mind, and I don't mean to cut me off, anybody, if you want to talk, because
You're out of here.
I don't want to be the only guy, but so as far as the amps go and stuff that you guys are modeling, I'm sure you guys are modeling amps as we speak.
Yes, we are.
Nope.
So, and I know that you can't tell us which ones, and I wouldn't dare ask. But are you doing more metal amps, or is there going to be? And I'm not complaining. I love my 5150 block that I have right now. That thing's sick. But what else do you have coming down the pike?
So I can tell you, high gain guys will be happy with 230 and beyond. We try to do a mix. There are several high gain players here, so some of them always get into the mix. I think you'll be happy with 230, and I think other people will be happy with 230. So it's going to be some good stuff. The 7 channels, it's 4 amps, 4 unique amps consisting of 7 channels. And then, of course, these are going to keep coming. This year was slow. We're going to end up with 2 releases this year, which is, being honest, not the cadence we want to go. 3 or 4 would be great, but
remember, you did have Helix Native stuck into this.
Yeah, so we had 2 things this year that really slowed us up. Helix Native, and then the content for 230 was really well down the road.
Hold on one second, Frank. We are getting some feedback. If anybody who is listening in and they have audio, please plug in a set of headphones so that as the audio travels to where you are, we don't get feedback through the microphones.
So everybody put on headphones, you're saying?
Yeah, if you could. Yeah.
Yeah, I got a Bluetooth set here.
Yeah, you're doing good. Mike might want to put one. I know he was coming through. Yeah. What's happening is we're getting bleed through for the speakers are bleeding back through the mic.
Yeah, I heard it.
Is that better?
That's awesome. Perfect.
Yep.
All right.
Thank you.
Perfect. There we go. Very good, Jeremy. Okay, so
Back to Frank.
sorry about that, Frank.
Yeah, so we had native that slowed us up. You know, we wanted to have that out in by June, and it slipped a little bit. We also had, as you know, 2.3.0 will bring with it a brand new editor, which will be much closer to native in look and feel and functionality. And that was a complete rewrite. So that had to be written. And think about it. We've now got to write for native. We had to write everything in computer code basically for it to work. And then we had to write this editor, which was completely new, along with the things to enable us to be able to update all 3 platforms at once. So that took an awful lot of work. The good news is the work's done. It's in internal beta, and we have limited external beta on this one too. And it went in last week, and we're shooting for this month. And so far, I mean, things look good. Having said that, anything can happen. If we get a P1 bug, it's not shipping. So, you know, we've been beating on it, and we're going to have a team of people beating on it now until we're comfortable. But it's looking good. That's what I'll say about that. So the goal is this month.
Well, let me put it this way. I appreciate the fact that you are very specific about not releasing it until it's, I mean, absolutely as ready as it can be.
Yep.
There's obviously with, you know, you have your limited test, you throw it out there to, you know, 10,000 more people, you're going to find a couple more things that come through, but usually it's really minor.
Yeah, as long as they're in the, you know, sub-C level bug, we can address it very quickly, as you know, with point releases to fix things that pop up. But our goal is to get all the major things found and squashed, and it just takes time. It takes time and cycles and people, frankly. So we're getting there. It's looking good. And the good news is, once this is out, those 3 platforms are now able to be updated across, you know, so the content can be shared across all 3, and we should be getting quicker updates. Again, you know, it takes a lot of testing for us to make sure, even for new content, new amps, new effects, even to make sure everything works across all 3 platforms, it takes a lot of testing. So it doesn't make sense to release, you know, every other month. Some companies do that. For us, it doesn't make sense. But that doesn't change the totality of the content. So we just Ben and Sam keep doing stuff. They've got amps in there now and effects in there now that are, you know, beyond 2.3.0 and beyond that. And they keep doing that part of it. It's more about test and functionality code as we keep releasing these updates. So just so you guys know, we hope to do more than 2 next year. That much is for sure. And hopefully with the 7 and 7 you're going to get with this update, in the aggregate over the 2 years, it'll still be a pretty significant rate of release when you look back on them all.
Well, the tremendous value of what we already currently have, I mean, if you just go back to the way it was released when it was brand new.
That was great.
No editor.
No editor. It frankly is just absolutely a phenomenal piece of gear. And I think some people get, well, what about this? The grass is always greener. Hey, no, you know what? Go back to number 1. You had an amazing piece of gear for the $1,500 you paid for it, whether there was one release made for it later. It was worth every penny of it that was spent when you bought it in the first place.
Frankly, Chad, that is basically the legal reason why we can't talk about in detail future updates, because, and this is legitimate, we're a publicly traded company, and we don't want customers buying something that doesn't exist in the box yet. We want you to go buy the product for what it is today. Honestly, one of the things we had to overcome was trust in our customer base that we would continue to support this product. And that was something that early on was very difficult. And if you were on the gear page, and I was on the gear page taking the hits daily when we first released, there was a lot of skepticism whether we would continue to just keep supporting this thing. And we said, this is our baby and we will support it until the thing goes away, and we will. But
that's awesome.
Well, but trying to convince people that that was going to be the case is just a matter of you just got to wait and watch us and see what we do. And
that's the only way to find out. You know, I mean.
Well,
Jeremy, go ahead.
Oh no, so I can say, Frank, and you, hey, what's up, buddy? Could you believe it's this handsome in person, right? We
like that rack of guitars behind you, dude.
Oh, look at that! I'm getting ready to do. I got Ron Estrada from the BC Rich Custom Shop. He dropped me off 2 guitars last weekend. A custom shop Ironbird and a custom shop Telly. I've never seen a BC Rich Telly before, so those are going to be my first 2 guitar demos for the channel.
Awesome.
So it should be cool. So he and I we've got a pretty good working relationship. So his plan is. He says every couple of months come and swap them out and bring me a couple more and keep them coming, and then figure out what I want him to build me for compensation. So we'll see.
Oh, sweet.
I'll take it.
Yes.
Jeremy, did you try the?
But you know, what's that?
Did you try the OTB patches?
I have not tried them yet, but I'm going to. I do plan on it. I don't even have my my screen protectors on yet, and I've got my camera set up. I'm trying to get my angles right since I redid the studio. And I've got my, it's kind of terrifying. I've got my floor on mixer mount, and it's literally vertical, flat up. But it's snug enough in there that I don't think it's going to fall over. So I'm going to do an install on the protectors, and I'll put that out on the channel, and we'll give it a thumbs up. But anyway, back to where I was at. You know, Frank, I've beaten this horse, 12 ways from Sunday. But, I mean, like Chad, I've owned them all. Chad, you had at one time, you had the Axe 8 in there, you had the head rush, you had all this stuff. Man, for guys like me, I'm fortunate now to have the floor and the LT, and I've been sending my LT out to people that are, diehard Fractal guys or diehard Kemper guys, for them to just check it out for themselves and take a listen. So I've shipped it to 3 people now. And you guys see the videos that I've been posting up in the forum of my buddy Jorma from Vintersea. Got a Fractal and a Kemper at home. He gigs with them all the time. He tours with them all the time, and he loves the Helix. He's definitely going to be buying one for sure.
Awesome.
And that was me. I mean, I was a Kemper snob. I really was, and I used it for 2.5 years. I was using it at church. I was using it at gigs. I do a lot of big. Private events here in Vegas at casinos and stuff. Matter of fact, we're getting ready to do one for Smith & Wesson for their annual SHOT Show. And every sound guy that I've worked with ever since getting the Helix, whether it's for worship at church or the couple sound guys we use regularly here in Vegas, as soon as I got the LT and started gigging with that, they're like, I don't know what you've done, but that's the best your stuff has sounded, and they've taken the trip with me through Kemper, through Fractal, through Atomic. So it's just awesome. And what I found at release, I was not thrilled with anything kind of above those mid-gain sounds. Clean sounds were fantastic, I think, at release. Some of the crunch sounds are really good, but the higher gain stuff was just not for me. But whenever you guys released the 2 whatever,
201.
My ears just started perking up. I was like, wait a minute, I don't feel like that's the same thing I was hearing a couple of years ago. So when I got the itch to start trying new things, I can't tell you, it's just phenomenal. I love it. And the other thing I'm going to say, I'm going off on a tear. I'm sorry. I don't know what the hell people program that they seem to hate the stock cabinets. And they, someone posted the other day, I can't make a good Mesa Mark patch without a compressor, without 2 overdrives, without all these things. And I made like the simplest Mark patch ever, literally just copying my buddy Rafiq, his settings from his Mark IV. I was like, what do you use? Because you always get a great recorded tone. So he took pictures of all his controls. I said it, and as soon as I posted, everybody wanted the patch. But it's all the same people that say you can't get a good Mark patch without doing all kinds of shit to it.
They're overthinking it.
I don't know
why.
You are.
Yeah.
It's the simplest thing in the world.
And
it sounds fantastic.
I have there's actually something I have to say about that. What it is there's some people who are out there that are so lazy. Literally, I think that they would go and buy an amp at the store, put it in their place, they'd set it up, plug it in, go, sounds like crap, take it back without dust turning the knobs.
Yep.
So
sure.
it's frustrating to me because I get people all the time, and I have been a proponent of the stock cabs forever. Why? Yeah, because I read so many comments about, well, the only way to get Helix to sound good is you got to have an IR.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's what I was so frustrated one day. I put up that one post. I says, if I hear one
more time,
more person, I'm going to scream because you're just not dialing it in. And then comes the OTB patches that I made. I got to tell you, that gave me something that I was, when you hear a cab or when you hear an IR, you get that snapshot. You can hear the reflections of the wood. You can hear the box. You can hear the mic. You can hear all those things. And what I want to hear, and it's been what Line 6 has said, well, this is a recorded tone, just as if you took your amp and you put it into the other room and you set a mic up and you're listening in the control room. This is the tone you're getting, and it's fantastic. And I will never say, don't use stock cabs, don't use IRs if you want to, because that's how you color the tone to what you want to get.
Yeah.
But what is missing is when I patch that into my FR, I get that recorded kind of tone, and then I go over to a tube amp and just plug in, and I get that immediate tone. And I think if some people said, "Wow, this is exactly it." Don't dismiss, even though I recommend these OTB EQ mods. Don't dismiss mixing them. Don't dismiss just using a cab. Don't dismiss using IRs. I've never said you must replace it, or I've never come out and been dogmatic. I just says, hey, here's another tool. Try it.
Sure. And and I'm definitely interested to check it out. But I don't use an FR setup. I have no, don't hang up on me. I have an Alto. I have an Alto. An Alto, was it the 215, the powered 15? I think it sounds like garbage. I think it's the worst speaker I've ever played through in my life. But I know a lot of people use them, so I kind of use that as a reference point. If I dial in something, I'll run it through that. If it sounds okay through there, I feel pretty safe that it'll sound pretty good through front of house. But I generally, when I'm at home, I'm usually running through my my studio monitors. So I don't know how the OTB thing was that going to sound right through studio monitors? Is that really meant for?
No, your studio monitors should be very flat, and you're how many inches are the studio monitors? 8.
They're 8-inch, yeah.
Yeah, so you're not going to get that 12-inch amplifier woof, but you should get, because I actually get the feeling, I get that same sort of feeling when I listen to the presets in here. But when I run it through my FR, my Firehawk 1500, I'm telling you, wow, it just brings to life. And it's some harmonics that are not taken out. You can actually hear the differences in the guitar that you couldn't hear before. You hear from a full chord, you actually hear the harmonics of all the strings together.
So if you were gonna what?
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I'm sorry, I was gonna say real quick. My buddy Jamie Trevino came over the other day, and we were dialing in his Helix floor for that tour he's doing out of the country, and we were screwing around, and he's like, "Hey, I got Chad's EQ curve. Let's put it on." So we disabled the cab and whatever else we're supposed to disable on my Helix, and we ran it through my Friedman's, and we put your curve on there, and both of us were like, "Holy crap!" I mean, honestly, how can this sound good without a cab? Because you play it without a cab, it just sounds like a big fizzy, mess. Well, when you put that EQ on there, I'm not kidding you. It sounded good. Both of us were like, oh my God, all right, this isn't a joke. I mean, it really does sound good.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Take a quick phone call.
No problem.
All right. Yeah, it really was very surprising. So what I want to do is download them all, because you sent me the link. I want to download them all and try them out and see how they sound with different amps, because we put the curve on my PV Panama, which is the the 5150 amp. And I honestly, Chad, I'll be honest, I was shocked. It sounded way better than I thought it would.
Well, yeah, and you have to understand. So what I get a lot of people have come out and said is they go, well, you need to release one that has, one for 412 and one for this kind of cab, and it's like, no, you're missing the point.
It's a speaker, right?
It's a speaker.
Yeah.
Now what you're getting is, now instead of going amp, cab and mic out to another cabinet, which is your FR, you're getting an attenuation essentially that simulates a speaker cab, but nothing in particular to attenuate that you've listened to a cab or an amp without a cab, right? Sounds horrible. It's like, oh God.
Yeah.
This attenuates that just a bit, and then sends it out. And what you're getting is, now you get to hear the flavor of the amp. And when you make your little adjustments on the amp, you're gonna go, oh geez, I can't believe I turned this just this much and I'm getting that much difference. And you're hearing all the harmonics that are cutting through now. And when you switch, now I know that the Helix is doing good with cabs and mics, so I'm not saying not to use them, but like when you switch from bridge to neck or on a Strat, you get to 5 different positions. You really can hear the guitar talking, not the cabinet.
What would be interesting is, and it's funny that when you think about it, it's not that foreign of an idea. Companies like Ignite Amps,
Right.
They make cool plugins. They make a power amp sim that I used to run all the time when I would run these AMT Legend Series preamps. I would record direct through those and use Recabinet from Karzog or Kazrog, whatever it's called. But I found this this plugin that modeled power amps. You could do KT88s, you could do 6L6s, and really at the end of the day, it's just an EQ curve that it's applying. So, when you release these things, it made me think of, if you guys are familiar with the Rivera Rock Crusher, which is an attenuator, they make 2 versions. They make the regular Rock Crusher, and they make one that's called the Rock Crusher Recording. And it has an EQ built into the Rock Crusher, and they give you a list of EQ curves to match speakers. So they have an EQ curve for a Vintage 30. They have an EQ curve for a Celestion Greenback 65. So it's not so crazy an idea what you're doing, but maybe I'll send you or see if I can find that, the manual, and shoot it out to you, and interested in your thoughts and see if it actually, how different those curves are to what you're doing.
I would put it to the test, and actually, I'll be honest with you, it's frankly, and I'm going to go out on a limb here, and people are going to go, I've lost my mind. It's all EQ.
Sure.
Everything that gets to your ears is EQ.
Yeah.
And
just frequencies.
And what's happening is these IRs, they're a sophisticated EQ tone that you're applying to it. But what I was shocked with is how much of the box, if I switch back and forth, how much of the box I could really hear when I put the cab back on. And what I wanted to do, and I was actually talking with Dan Bull of 65 Amps. I said, hey, if there was a way to measure a speaker, if there was just a way to measure a speaker not with a mic, then I think there probably is, but this solves it. And it goes back to one of the first, the pioneers of it, which was Tom Scholes of Boston. So
Yeah, he made that Rocktron.
Yep.
That wasn't that what it was? The
Rockman.
Rockman. Yeah,
right
that
here.
thing was cool, man.
See, right here, right there.
Is that the Distortion
Yeah.
Generator, or which one is that?
That one's the Sustainor.
Okay. My buddy had a Distortion Generator, and I remember he was so excited to go into the studio with it when I was like 16. He was like 18 at the time. And he saved up and got it and went to this our local studio back in Massachusetts. It was the most god-awful sound I'd ever heard.
Yeah. I want to be clear here. Without taking the EQ curve and you put it on these amps, it sounds crazy when you run it through your speaker.
Yeah.
But when I play this god-awful, horrible monstrosity here, I hate it. It's horrible. I can't even. I've been trying to mimic and make the Helix sound that bad.
Yeah, can't do it.
It's hard. It's very hard. I came close. I came so close that it sounded really good, and it sounded just like this, but just better.
Yeah.
But I cannot attenuate the Helix down to this pile of circuits. Now I know he likes it, and he took that thing and he made some fantastic music, and he blasted through stadiums, and it sounded awesome. Through here, and I'm like, good God, that's horrible.
I used to love the look of the heads. You remember when the big units came out and it was like head tape, but it had all the stuff kind of stuck in it, almost like a 500 series rack. And I always thought it was the coolest looking thing when I was younger. But yeah, anytime I used to have is it the Ace? The Rockman Ace was a headphone amp, and I used to take the train from Massachusetts to Connecticut to go see my mom, and I just played my guitar the whole way. It was awesome.
Yep, I had a buddy that had
and that thing sounded decent.
Yeah, it did. It had that chorusy kind of distortion on it. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, we recorded with it once on a record. Yeah, and it actually we loved it, but we were like, dude, we sound like freaking Boston. we were a prog band with like a Boston guitar sound because it sounds just like him, and there's just no getting around it. So we were like, we had to scrap the tracks and start over because it was like I said, it sounded like Boston doing prog. Sure. And it just didn't work, It was it's like kind of like Satriani's tone. It's so recognizable. It's like you can't use that unless you're doing a tribute or something because it's too recognizable.
That's the only context in which it works,
Yeah.
And now there's something else I'd like to point out about the OTB patches in this EQ curve. I'm getting a lot of responses that it sounds a little harsh. And I want to reach through, and I'm a nice guy, so I wouldn't do this, but I want to reach through the forum and slap some people because all you have to do, what they're so used to is that what they've been listening to for the last 10 years of super processed tones. But when you go back and you listen to these amplifiers, the way they were played and intended to be played, like I listened to, I put up some links, but the tones that they were getting that cut through,
god awful,
harsh, but that's what's getting through. That's why they sound so good, and that's what those amps sound like.
Honestly, a lot of people who buy patch kits from Glenn and other folks who do them, they forget that you got to remember the context of the patch. Was it made to play? You know what I mean? Was it made to play in a mix? And that's a completely different tone. When you listen to isolated guitar tracks, to your point, Chad, especially some of the older stuff, it's terrible sounding.
Yeah.
But in the mix, it sounds beautiful. And that people forget kind of the basics sometimes when you're dealing in the digital world. Someone creates a set of patches for a particular song. Just playing it alone with nothing, it's not going to sound the same as it's going to in the mix, and that's where I think a lot of people miss the whole point.
That's
true.
Yeah, absolutely.
I wanted to say, I've made some of the most awesome, phenomenal tones with this Helix here, and I loved it, and I was like, oh, this is the best tone ever. I can't even believe it. My ears, I just can't believe what I'm hearing. And then I tried to play it with a track. I couldn't even hear it. It was gone. It was gone.
The opposite is true. Yeah.
And so
That can happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, well, and it's kind of like if you've ever listened to, like, I'm a big Dream Theater fan, and a couple of their albums, you can actually buy like special versions of their albums, and they'll give you like the singled out tracks, the solo tracks, and the keyboards sound amazing in the mix. But if you listen to Jordan Rudess's keyboards, like after, you know, like they've been processed and everything, and they single them out, they are so thin, it's almost like it's like a mist of keyboards, and they sound so fat and crazy in the mix. But when you pull them out, you know, they're just paper thin. And the reason why they do that is because frequencies. They can't have too many low end frequencies in the mix, otherwise it just sounds like mud. You know, so they thin them out.
Each instrument has its own lane, and when you if every one of them ventured in the other lane, it wouldn't sound good.
Yeah, it's like a 4-lane highway with nothing but extra wide loads going down. I mean, someone's going to crash. I mean, it's too much. So somebody's got to drive a smart car. Somebody's got to drive a motorcycle, and you know, and then you might have one extra wide load going down, but the rest of them all got to kind of sacrifice for the overall mix. You know, and it's the same thing with that Fizz video you did, Chad. Like when you had the fizzy guitars and stuff. I mean, I could not believe how bad the guitars sounded on Guns N' Roses when they were singled out. They were hideous.
Yep.
You know, but you put them back in the mix, and it's like you know, salt that tastes like crap by itself, but when you put it in the soup, it's not so bad.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things when I was off modelers for a minute, and I decided I just wanted to record with my amps, and unfortunately my living situation you know, still dictated I needed a silent solution, so I got the 2 Notes Torpedo Studio. It's a phenomenal piece of gear. I love it. And but one thing I know, when I first got it, I was listening to all the, you know, when I was listening to my amps soloed with the mics and the cabs in there, I was like, wow, this is really bright and this is really awful. I need to try some IRs. That's when I started getting into like the Celestion IRs and the Owen Hammer stuff. Don't get me started on Owen Hammer stuff, man. I can't deal with them. But so I loaded some IRs up. But then I was doing a demo for Friedman amps, and it was the first time they sent me a Butter Slacks, and I was recording Rockin' Into the Night from 38 Special. And something just clicked when I was driving. I'm like, holy crap, that awful sound I heard coming through the 2 Notes sounds exactly like this, right? Like that's when the whole, you know, remember that you're listening to a recorded guitar in an ISO box in another room, and that you're hearing it through, you know, in the control room, and start thinking about it that way.
Exactly.
And that's people, they're chasing this amp in the room thing. Like I know guys that have been on modelers for years still fighting to get that amp in the room sound. And it doesn't matter how many ways from Sunday that you tell them you're listening to a mic'd single speaker. You're never, you know, you want a 412 experience and a 100-watt amp, and you bought the modeler because you can't turn your 100-watt amp up. So how the hell do you even know how it sounds in the room? First of all, second of all, like if you stick your ear to, like when you're micing a cab and you're trying to find a sweet spot, you put your ear to your favorite speaker, like if you like a Celestion Redback or Greenback that you think sounds phenomenal in your cab, get up close to hear what that speaker really sounds like. It sounds horrible. Yeah. It's awful. To get to volume, to get those tones you want to hear, there's so much going on in trying to capture that amp in a room sound. You know, and I'm interested. So, Chad, I am interested. I will try the OTB things, but we've all migrated to these devices that simulate being in a studio. That's what they do. They simulate giving you a studio recording.
It's homogenized.
So it's guys that were like, I just dropped $2,200 to not like how I sound. And then they start chasing with different FR cabs. They start chasing with this, and they do it. You know, I don't know. That idea of keep it simple and understanding the context and what you're trying to hear something and what the device actually, what the intent of the device is that you're using. When you buy a modeler, you're buying something to use live to simulate the idea of a sound man sticking a damn 57 in front of your cab.
Yeah. Yep.
You're not buying a modeler to sound like an amp in the room on stage. You know,
correct.
I mean,
Exactly right.
It's just
yeah.
Well, what I found is I've done several episodes now on my Tone Wars show, and I use a recording engineer that does all the tracks. And you know, at first when he's working with me, he was like, "Well, what do you want? You know, I'll do this and that to you." I'm like, "No, it's done. You don't need to do anything but capture my playing and leave it." I mean, the only minor thing you might have to do every once in a while is like a little teeny pin drop in the 4K area. Other than that, don't touch it. You know, you don't need to. It's like you don't buy homogenized milk and then re-homogenize it. You just drink it. You know.
Yeah.
So,
to consider when people are listening to tracks, and what I noticed is when I was trying to make the Bush preset that I made for the band Bush, everything that they do that's on the album is double tracked.
Yeah.
And so if you're trying to copy that, you have to. I've actually simulated double tracking on here, but I'm looking forward to maybe sometime in the future when there's a little double track button. I know I can simulate it, but I'm looking forward to the future when that may happen. Just a little button as hit, boop, double track.
Yeah.
Other than that, that's the problem is they want the Helix to sound like the record.
Yeah.
You're not going to sound like the record unless you do something after the fact and double track and pan it. And so,
well, especially when
like Eddie Van Halen live.
Yeah. Good luck on that. Because you know you've got an arena to contend with. You've got all this space around you that's getting into that mic as well. And those are being sometimes double tracked in the studio, or some, you know, if there's isolated guitar tracks, they're duping. So it's I feel like people have forgotten just how to enjoy playing and enjoying a piece of gear, and just having something to be like, shit, I love this thing, you know, and just getting into it and letting it be what it is.
Well, the problem too, what I've found, and I've been guilty of this in the past, is you treat it like a digital piece of software. You're supposed to treat it like an amp, because it's an amp, but it's just presented to you digitally. So stop treating it like a spaceship. You know what I mean? It's like it's not. The same buttons and dials that are on an amplifier. Just because they're in digital form, it doesn't mean that, well, 6 isn't really 6. It is. Yeah. It's 6. Yeah. You know, and so treat it like an amp, and it'll sound like an amp. If you treat it like a digital interface, it's going to sound like a digital interface. You know.
And not only that, learn what the amp controls do, because every amp works differently. You dial in a Mark, you cannot dial in a Mesa Mark the way you dial in a Marshall. You can't.
You're absolutely correct. Yep.
So say, look at the Uber shot. Look at the Uber on the Helix and the Uber in real life. Like you can't just. That's not an amp where you dial everything at noon and it sounds glorious. It doesn't sound glorious.
Well, and that's the thing about the Helix. As they come out from the factory, they're all sitting in the middle. I'm here to tell you, if you grab, I had a Tweed Fender DeVille 410 USA. Tube amp, awesome, beautiful. And I'm telling you, if you put your gain at 5, it's too much. 2.3 on the gain was that crystalline, beautiful sound. So if you're expecting that crystalline, beautiful tone out of the Tweed in the Helix, well, turn the gain down.
Yeah, totally.
Make some adjustments because it's there. Trust me, it's there.
Yeah, I don't know who the fella is. Was it Line 6 Helix Help or someone, where they went through all the amps and they talk about, you know, all the controls on each one of the preamps.
Helix Help.
HelixHelp.com is a third-party site, really good site.
Yeah, good stuff. Just read the information that's out there, you know. And I think it's the biggest difference between. I'm sorry, you guys. I talk a lot, so you can just tell me to shut up.
No, go for it.
The biggest difference I noticed, the funny thing is, I have, you know, if you look on any of the other modular forums, I'm on all of them. I got thousands of posts on all of them. But I've had people on the Fractal forum tell me that I don't like the Helix, that I'm still in the honeymoon phase. You got to be kidding me. I've sold all my other stuff off. I don't need, you know, of course I like it. And one of the things, you know, people harp on is this kind of digital fizziness of the amps, you know, whereas the Fractal stuff are so smooth and they're so, you know, just like so easy.
Oh, no, it's not.
But you know what? when you listen to, like when I've mic'd up my Swan or mic'd up my Friedman, when you've got the gain cranking and you're listening to the sound between the notes, to me, the Helix captures what an amp actually sounds like more than any other modeler, or even than the Kemper than I've ever experienced before.
I agree.
Wait
You know,
till OTB.
You're a little OCD about your OTB, dude.
Right.
But here's the thing. I had a buddy of mine over, and he's got an AX8, and that thing, I mean, good luck. You need a freaking direct line to NASA to dial that damn thing in, you know. And the other thing too is, you got to hook it up to a stinking laptop.
You do.
Oh, okay,
So
okay.
he's sitting next to me in my living room, and he's got this laptop, and he's like, "Dude, this thing sounds great." And we put it through my Friedman's, and I'm like, "No, it don't. All I hear is digital artifacts after every note that you hit when you're doing palm mutes. I hear all this afterbirth, digital afterbirth, where he's almost floating around." And he spent 2 hours trying to fix that. And both of us, we just couldn't figure it out. And I'm like, dude, all you have to do with a Helix is turn a stinking knob. You don't have to call, you know, Bill Nye the science guy to freaking help dial in your stupid pedal, you know. And the Helix is so intuitive. And I killed him with my Helix. I absolutely slaughtered that thing.
That's awesome.
To the same cabs in my living room, same cabs, everything. And this guy used to troll me on Facebook. My stuff will beat yours. Well, he brought it up here, and I spanked the crap out of it and sent him home crying to his mama. You know, it was freaking hilarious. So,
That's
you know,
awesome.
and to the other thing, too, when you were talking about, you know, dialing it in and getting the real amp sound, a mistake I made early on is because I've been using modelers for, I got so far away from using amplifiers, I kind of forgot what they felt like, and I kind of forgot what they kind of sounded like.
Yeah.
So I was like, I don't know if you've ever seen that movie Multiplicity with Michael Keaton.
Yeah.
You know, it was a multiplicity of you know, you got the guy folding pizza in the wallet and the other, you know, I mean, these guys are all like, well, that's what happened to my tone. I started getting like further and further away from reality. So I had amps over once. I had some friends over. They brought over some amplifiers, and I dialed my stuff in to an actual amp, and I A/B'd it, and I nailed it. And that's really the key to any modeler. But if you're gonna paint a picture of a tree, well, have a freaking tree in front of you. You know, I mean, it's
Okay, so here,
it's just, you know.
I did the shootout, and I took a lot of heat on the. Never mind. I won't. The other page. Frank knows why I just said that.
Oh, the fractal butthurt guys.
Well, just the other page, and when I did my HD 500 Helix AX8 and when I did with the head rush, the shootout, I tried to make it as scientific as possible, and I think I did a fair job for all of them. And again, look what I'm here with. I'm here with the Helix, so you know what I feel. But the thing about it is, here's my thing on the AX8. It's a great modeler. It's fantastic. It's great. Here's the thing. You grab a model with the Helix, and it sounds like that model, and it acts like that model, and you really can't make it sound like the other model. With the AX8, what I would have is I would have a sound in my head. So I grab a model that I might think might do that, dial it in. Oh, I like that tone. That sounds good. I like that. That sounds great. Then I want to see what another model sounds like. So I build another patch and grab a different model and I go, oh yeah, this sounds great. This is fantastic. And I build it and it sounded great. Then I build another one. And then pretty soon I went back and checked all of them. They all sounded the same.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I mean, they've got 72 models of a modern Marshall. I mean, that's the AX8. You know, I've owned Fryettes for the last 12 to 15 years. I know what Fryette amps sound like, or VHT amps, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah.
I've had my Splon Quick Rod for quite a few years. I know what a quick rod sounds like. Their deliverance model does not sound like a deliverance. Their Splon does not sound like a Splon. I don't know what amp they modeled, but it is not a quick rod. And they've got, the Cameron Atomica sounds just like their Friedman Brown Eye. The Friedman HBE doesn't sound that different. Now, when I sit and play a Friedman and I switch between the BE and the HBE, you can hear and feel the difference. You cannot do that with the X8. It's not to say that the models don't sound good, but I find it suspect just a bit. I know that anyone that's watching, they don't diffract the product, don't yell at me. But, I think it's very easy to say, take an existing Marshall model, do a couple of tweaks in your back end and say this is now this, right? Because it sounds somewhere. I don't know.
Well,
and then
that's the other thing about these is you can go in and there's so many things you can tweak. You can change the tubes. You can change everything.
Yeah.
And so now it's not even the same model. I actually like the, hey, there's a model and this sounds different than this model and there are limitations and you're stuck. So
Fractal make great gear. They are, frankly, they set the bar before we got into this, and they did a phenomenal job. They have a phenomenal product. They have a different philosophy, I think, in the way they model. It's not wrong or right. It's just different, and there are fans of that philosophy, and there's fans of our philosophy. To us, and there's a video coming that I can't tell you guys about yet, but it'll be coming out sometime in December with a well-known musician who we did a model for. And to me, this is really the gold standard. When you can, because every amp is a little bit different, even coming off the production line. They're not all exactly the same.
Yep.
And to me, someone who's owned an amp for 25 years, for instance, Jeremy, if we can get your Splon and get that into Helix, the best person to tell you if it sounds like that particular amp is you.
Yeah.
And no one else can say that, right? But so we've got a video coming where we actually show the process of making a model.
That's awesome.
The person who's had this particular amp for many years, A/B it, and actually say it wins. It's there. And
that's awesome.
Wow.
If anyone else says that, it's not as impactful. But when the person who owned it says it, to me, that's impactful. And the reason I say that is that because every amp is a little bit different. And we have this kind of, we've got amps, we tune them up, but you've seen pictures of our amps. They're not all pristine, beautiful amps.
They're plain.
And we modeled that amp.
And that's what we want.
We make sure it's working properly, but other than that, whatever little nuance is in that particular amp is going into Helix because that's just our philosophy.
Well,
good.
Yeah, it's funny. I have, and I'll, Frank, I'll mirror what you said. I will never, business model was one thing. I'll never say anything bad about how the Fractal units sound. They got my money. I was happy to spend it, and I loved the tones I got. But just like, you guys are saying, to program that thing, I was not confident that if I was at a gig and I needed to adjust something, I was not confident that I could do it on the device.
Exactly.
The Kemper, super easy. I loved it when I had it. And Frank, I think I texted you or I mentioned to you that I was excited to get one in for a couple of days because I wanted to load up all my favorite profiles and start trying to match them with the Helix, right? To see how close I could get. And it was heartbreaking because when I loaded up all my favorite profiles, I was like, shit, I don't like any of these anymore. I think I found I found 3, I'm not even kidding. I found 3 that were really, really good. They still sounded great. But most of them, I was just like, I don't know if my ears changed or what, but I just wasn't feeling it. Now, I know I enjoyed the heck out of my Kemper when I had it. I gigged, hundreds of gigs with it. And again, nothing bad to say about any of those things. But what I do know is, so a buddy of mine, he and I both have an amp from this company called Henning Amplification. And Steve Henning, super cool guy, hot rodded Marshall, big surprise. And my buddy sent his over to this guy in LA who's got a company called Big Hairy Profiles. His name's Michael something. I don't know. Studio guy. He's a pretty well-known guy. And he did a profile set of this Henning bottle rocket that we both own. And Chad and I have gotten very similar recordings on our bottle rockets. And when I hear these profiles, I'm like, what the hell amp is that? Like I see it there, and I see the guy going through when he was profiling it, but it is not, does not sound like this amp. And it's just I don't know, it's just bizarre to me. So to your point, Frank, like someone that has owned the amp, that has played the amp, you know, is going to know what it sounds like. And people have asked me, they've sent me like, hey, should I buy sounding profiles? I'm like, you buy them if you think the capture sounded good, but I can tell you it doesn't sound like my amp. You know, it doesn't. And I know I've gotten closer to my Swan dialing my Helix in. I keep looking like you guys can see it. Dialing my Helix in than I've gotten on profiles that I loaded up of a Swan Quick Rod, you know, that are supposed to be the actual amp.
Great to hear. Kemper, also great company. Again, completely different technology and approach. They are,
sure,
you know, the snapshot of an amp versus the, you know, actual component by component modeling. But still, great products. The beautiful thing about all this stuff is it just keeps pushing the tech forward, because obviously you guys know Helix took 5 or 6 years in development, and the first thoughts of it were probably 7 years ago, or 7 years prior to release. We're already thinking about what the next Helix will be. It's many years away, but you've got to start thinking now.
Sure.
And the breadth of these high-end products now are going to feed into the next kind of evolution of all of them. As an example, I can almost guarantee you Fractal will have some kind of user interface upgrade for their next Axe-Fx product. I can almost they kind of have to now, because that was a real leap in the product and the market actually. Yep. So they'll do that. We're going to try to figure out what everybody's doing and try to leapfrog them. This is all great for guitar players. It just
don't do a touchscreen.
Listen, we tried it, and we went out to focus groups. We went, more importantly, all the guitar players here, and they didn't like it at the end of the day better than what we came up with. That doesn't mean there won't be a touchscreen. It means that the implementation we tried was just didn't feel pro enough, didn't feel reliable enough.
Here's what I have to say about a touchscreen, and I had the headrush, so I can speak. I really appreciate the non-touchscreen. While I could see some implementations of a touchscreen, the way that headrush did it, while I give them respect for what they did do, and the units they sound decent enough, but really limited in what you can do. I mean, when you compare it to the Helix, about the amount of things you can put in a chain and where you can put them, hands down, way better. And I'll be honest with you, the Helix doesn't need a touchscreen. It's easy to navigate. And
oh yeah, you don't need it.
If there was some way to implement it and keep it as easy as it is to use, well, fine. But I wouldn't go there.
Yeah, you don't. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And while we're you know, I don't know. I don't mean to derail this, but before I forget, I wanted to ask you, Frank. Are you guys going to do any like signature amp models? Like, you know, John Petrucci's got a signature amp, the Mark II C+, and there's other companies that have signature amps. Are you guys allowed to do that, or is it like a licensing thing, or what?
We could do it, and it's been discussed, and I would guess we will do it at some point. It's not.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Gonna happen right away, but it's definitely been discussed.
That would be fantastic.
That'd be sick. Because the Steve Morse Angle is insane. The Angle Blackmore is probably one of the best Marshall type amps I've ever played. It doesn't get a lot of recognition because it's you know, when you think Ritchie Blackmore, you don't really think, you know, an Angle Modern high gainer, but that's exactly what his amp is. But the Blackmore is probably the best preamp that they've designed for an amp that I've ever heard, and it gets brutally heavy. Like I know death metal bands that use the Blackmore amp.
Wow.
But you just you know, it's one of those, you wouldn't suspect it, you know, being his SIG amp. So Frank, for amps, and you can tell me it's none of my business, but is it one of those things where if you own an amp, you can do whatever you want with it? Doesn't matter who, or do you, as long as you're not using the name, you can model whatever you want?
It depends. So as an example, Carol Ann amps. There's Carol Ann in
the Triptych and all.
And I actually, they approached me, and I know the guy. He lives in New Hampshire, actually, where my family is, and Fractal's in New Hampshire.
Yeah.
But that particular company looks at modeling as a marketing move, and more of them are. I can tell you, I've been approached by several, and there are probably several coming that want us to use their name. So it's not like the old days. And by the way, that battle's been fought, and it's long over. The way we do it, we have to do it with the way we name it. And by the way, it's a respect thing too. However, you're going to see more and more amp companies begin to actually use models and modelers as a way to market their product. Not a lot of people out there are going to go drop $3,000 to $5,000 on a boutique amp.
I'm not.
without giving it a really good test drive. But now, if that is going out to 35,000 Helix owners, now see, Chad's amp company in the Helix, and it's really nice and it's beautiful and it's expensive, but now you're really getting addicted to it. You just may go buy that amp now if you're really feeling good about it, right?
Right.
I think you're going to see a lot more of that happen going forward.
Yeah, I think that's a great. It's kind of like what Guitar Hero did for some of the songs out there that a lot of kids never heard.
Exactly. That's exactly right, by the way. Exactly right. It's a massive targeted audience.
Yep. So now these kids are downloading, buying these songs, and they're like, I never heard of Guns N' Roses, but I'm going to buy the song now. You know. So hey, is that Paul?
You got Paul.
Yeah.
There he is.
Finally, I got home, got a decent enough internet connection that I could actually get on here, and then I had to install the whole Hangouts app. And anyway, I'm here now.
That's what I had to do too, man.
I'm here now.
I need a nap after all that work.
Gentlemen, I hate to say this, but it's 5:30. I got to leave because I got to go get one of those. I'm drinking Diet Coke right now.
I've been drinking water. Water in a short glass. Well, okay, maybe it wasn't water.
Fire water.
If you guys saw, Jeff Loomis just joined the Helix ranks now with Nevermore.
That's fantastic.
Yeah,
That's
I
awesome.
saw that.
So
his
profile hasn't been updated on our artist page. It's still just showing as G90 and something else, but it will be shortly because that's official now.
That's awesome. Well, I play with a lot of national touring acts that come through Detroit, and we've opened for a lot of. You wouldn't believe how many Helixes. Yeah, you wouldn't believe how many Helixes I've seen.
They're starting to show up. We got, and that's what was my other point about artists.
Okay, can you guys open up?
Signature amps or whatever. We've got the artists. Our artist relations team are really working hard. A whole lot of stuff in the works now. So, gentlemen, I wish I could stay longer, but I'm happy to do this anytime.
Thanks for being on, Frank.
Of course, guys.
Thanks, Frank.
Have a great night. And by the way, you all got my contact. If you ever have questions, need anything, feel free to shoot me a text, IM, email, whatever.
Will do.
Thanks, Frank. It was great seeing you and talking to you.
Great to see you guys. Cheers, guys.
Cheers. So Paul.
Yeah.
How you doing, man?
All right, thank you. It's getting dark here, as you can see in California. But, all good. How about yourself?
Cool.
I've missed virtually the entire session, as I say, between buffering and everything else. I kept getting clips of it and going, oh, well. Anyway, I'm kind of on now, so I'll just sit and listen for a while and get a feel for what you guys talk about, and if I can help in any way, I'm here, basically.
Well, this is my first time doing this, and I think it's absolutely fantastic. I think it's a great idea, because, I mean, the thing is you can't you can't always get together with people. Like, I don't know where you guys are from. I mean, you're in California.
Yeah.
I'm in Michigan. I don't know where are you guys from, the rest of you?
I'm in Las Vegas.
I'm in Washougal, Washington, just north of Portland.
Yeah,
boy.
Amazing. It's working very well.
Yeah, it's crazy, like where everybody's. So it's like it's nice to be able to actually talk to people and and get some questions answered or whatnot. But I just fired up the Mission Cab, the stereo one, and I was messaging you back and forth a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
So I got to go get a stereo. I got to get a Y adapter or something and hook it up.
Yeah. So I hope what I said made sense. So when we generally took 2 years to develop those things. We tried all different kinds of combinations, and in the end, we went right. So the more components you put in anything, the bigger chance of something failing is. That's the first thing. So by having a combined mono and stereo input jack made more sense. Secondly, the more openings you have into a cab, the more air can escape, which reduces the amount of air movement and, you know, the punch of the cab, which we didn't want to lose extra air. And then the idea with that particular jack is it's actually intelligent. So if you put a mono in, it knows it's mono. If you put a stereo in, it knows it's stereo. And if you do put stereo in, it automatically diverts the right channel to the output. There's a dedicated output if you did want to chain two Geminis together. So it automatically sends the right channel to that output. So now you can have big wide stereo effects, not just the stereo inside the cab. So there was all kinds of reasons for doing it. Of course, it does cause the problem that, if you want stereo into the cab, you have to find a way of getting stereo out of the connected device. So with the Helix, I think you've got a left and right 1/4 inch and XLRs, I believe.
Yeah.
So you can obviously do a Y cable of either of those formats. As long as it goes to a TRS the other end, then the Gemini is happy. It knows it's receiving a stereo signal. And
Okay, that's simple enough. Okay.
Does your wedges, Paul, do they do the same thing? Intelligent stereo?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly that. So when we designed them, we really did try to, as guitarists ourselves, think of every application and go, right, well, you know, what do we need them for? So you've got the USB, you've got the Bluetooth, you've got the dedicated input for a guitar if you want to record into your DAW, you've got the dedicated output for a second Gemini for big wide stereo sounds, which you can also use for actually taking a line level out to front of house if you want to do that instead. So we tried to think of, you know, every possible use for them, and we just felt that single jack, combining mono and stereo and XLR and TRS all in one jack was the right way to go.
I saw the video you posted, and then I posted into the forum.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Pretty phenomenal.
Thank you, guys.
I would love to have two of them when I get rich. So
yeah, I mean you know, honestly, I totally feel for you and what people say about them. Our biggest issue is because we make them just the way Mesa make their cabs. They're all literally handmade, no CNC machines or anything like that. They're handmade in Missouri. We have a facility in Missouri. We have craftsmen there who've been doing this 30 plus years, and they hand make every cabinet, which is why they're all slightly different. In fact, if you want to replace the front grille, for example, on the front, you can't do it because they're going to be a few, you know, millimeters out because they're handmade. I
actually understand it because I kind of have my little protectors. They're the ones that go over the unit. They're all handmade, so the edging is a little different on each one because you cannot replicate what. Like if I had a CNC machine, fine, but I don't.
Yeah. So my point I was leading on to was if you look at the cost of a Mesa, I mean, don't get me wrong, we all love Mesas and how they sound and what have you, but if you look at the technology inside them versus the technology we put inside a Gemini, what do they want? $3,000–4,000 for a Mesa? And we're giving the same hand-built quality, hand Tolex finish, same corners, same everything. Not in such a pretty cab, obviously, but with all that technology inside, and our most expensive unit is $1,899. So actually, it sounds expensive, but it really isn't. If you look at the technology in it, and as I say, the way these things are handmade, it's actually a very good price. But obviously, from our point of view, we went, well, we can't really charge $2,500–3,000 like a Mesa kind of price for one of these, because people getting into the modeling gear, they're paying anywhere between $1,000 and $3,000 depending on which model you're buying. So how much are you going to pay for a cab to go with it? Even though the Geminis might genuinely be worth it, it's one of these. As a manufacturer, there's always a perception. You know, where do you price these things that people look at it and go, "I'm prepared to pay that for it."
It's all based on, you know, market, and you have to. You would go out of business if you didn't price it just right, and it's a bell curve. You got to be right in that spot where it's sales versus versus loss. Yeah, I totally understand.
Well,
Yeah.
well, the way I look at it too, though, is I mean, I just looked up a Mesa 2x12. Okay, so a Mesa 2x12, you're looking at $729 at Sweetwater. Okay,
Yeah.
but it's not stereo, you know. So it's not stereo. It's not powered. It doesn't have all of the different features. It doesn't have Bluetooth, you know,
Or USB.
or USB, and
Yeah.
so and then you got to hook that up to. I mean, a Mesa or a Mesa, amplifier is $2,000.
Yeah.
You know, it's
That's what I'm saying. So for the
$2,000.
equivalent, for the equivalent, you're looking at 3,000 plus.
Yeah, and it still doesn't have any effects, and it still doesn't have the ability of stereo because you have to have two cabs for stereo. So when you at the end,
Well, you
of
got to
the
have
day,
2 amps for stereo.
Exactly. So you can have 2 amps, but what I'm saying is now you're spending $4,000, and so it's like it's so much cheaper at the end of the day when you look at the big picture. Buy a good modeler, buy like one of your cabs, and people, oh, it's so expensive. Well, no, it's not. When you
Not
break
really.
down all the stuff, it's like you can't look at it as a price tag. You got to look at it as what am I getting for that price tag?
Yeah,
and you're getting so much.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was trying to explain in a way too long of a fashion. But
well,
I'm trying to justify the fact that we really do make, a product packed full of features, hand build everything, and yet so really the pricing is, especially since we make it in California where taxes and the cost of running businesses is so really expensive. We can't do them for any less. If you knew what we made on one of those to a reseller, it really isn't a lot.
And Paul, the funny thing, you could tell people that till you're blue in the face, and they're not going to believe you, right? They think that probably cost you $200 to build. You guys are making $1,600.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? They wouldn't. You could show them the proof, and they still wouldn't believe you.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, I can tell you now.
And Paul's then
it does have two. It
Go
does
ahead.
have two Class D amplified boards in there. Each one of those boards is over $100 each. The Bluetooth board, $100. The USB board, over $100.
Mm-hmm.
Then you add in the drivers, you do the cab. You can get a feel for what we are actually costing.
Didn't have the R&D and the
I was gonna say that
the people to
put
it together.
Someone's got to build it.
Yeah, I appreciate that, guys. And the reason I jumped on the call in the first place is I caught a small snippet about you talking about 8-inch drivers versus 12-inch drivers and what it sounds like and all the rest of it. I mean, the biggest feature in the Gemini is the Empower knob. So there's a single knob on the back where you can take it all the way to full range flat response, which is more like your monitors in the studio. But some people think it's a little bit too clinical, a bit too CD polished kind of sound. Or you can crank it all the way anti-clockwise and it shrinks all the frequencies down to a regular tube amp frequencies. It cuts out the lows, cuts out the highs, or anywhere in between. So the beauty of it is, and again, that technology, that's on a separate board. That's probably another close to $100 in components to make it. That technology alone versus buying a regular tube amp, what value do you put on that? So really, if we could reduce the prices, we'd have to have them made probably in China or somewhere like that. We've never done that. We're proud to say made in the US, and we're just not going that direction, which means the prices are where they are. But you do, like most things in life, get what you pay for.
Well, exactly, and I can attest to that. That knob. What's it called again? The Empower knob. Yeah, that was the first thing I monkeyed with when I fired this thing up, and I got to tell you, it has a lot of say over your tone. It shapes it big time.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, go on.
It has. You can turn it so that it has that howl of a cab. You know how cabs have that howl to them. It'll have that. And then you turn it the other way, and just like you said, not all the howl goes away, but the howl turns more. It's tamer, and then you're hearing more frequencies, and it actually sounds wider. You can hear the width in it, and I thought that was really cool. I thought that was a great feature. And what's nice is you can turn it. There's no settings. It's just you just turn it till you're done.
Exactly, Jared. Yeah, you tune it to ear. So when Brian Turner from Guitar Player reviewed it and then bought 2. He said the biggest thing for him was that, because whenever he went out to a different venue, different shape venue, different number of people in it, of course, bodies absorb sound and tone, etc. He said rather than have to then go in and menu dive in his Kemper, he was using a Kemper, he could leave those alone. And I think he says in the article, in 8 seconds or less, seriously, 8 seconds or less, I can find the exact tone for that venue without touching my beloved presets.
No, you're right. That's a great feature, especially for guys that own fractals that you need, the laptop to operate. Yeah, you can just turn that knob, and you're right. It has a lot of say over the tone, and it. So, I mean, I haven't really. I just played it for like 5 minutes before we started, doing this, and so far the cleans I noticed right away. The cleans were sick. They were very clean. They were sparkly, but they weren't like ice picks in your ears. They had a nice, smooth top end on them, and I use a piezo pickup as well through my Helix, and the piezo sounded great. The clean sounded great on all 3 pickups, and the distortion sounded great.
Fantastic. That's great, Joe.
That's my.
So let me welcome Rich Anthony.
No, don't welcome Rich. Don't welcome Rich.
Is this thing working? Can you get
coming on late?
We can hear you. Welcome.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right. I just want to make sure I had all this stuff hooked up right.
Very good. Good to have you.
Yeah, I just got home from a movie and dinner, so I was hoping you guys are still on.
Which movie?
Thor.
You got that right. Was good, right?
Yeah, it was pretty good. Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, lots of humor in it. I thought it was quite good for the humor.
Yeah, it was good.
Cool. Yeah, I want to see that.
We got Jared. We got Jeremy. We got Mike Francis, and we've got Paul Shedden of Mission Engineering. So, and you, Rich, and then me.
Just me.
Humble little old me. Okay, I know I just lied.
Yeah, that's. I'm really excited to really put this mission through its paces, though. And I want to do the review on it so bad, for my show. So I'm really looking forward to doing this. And the thing I like too is you can mic this thing. You can mic it. So if you go to a venue and you got Mr. Old School up there as your sound guy, he's like, "Wow, I want to mic your cab," and it's like, well, go ahead, mic it all you want, So and it's nice. You got the best of both worlds.
Yeah, again, good point. I mean, there's only the 5 of us chatting, but while we're chatting about the unit, so again, when we designed it, most other FRFRs, not all, have the tweeter separated from the main drive and main woofer, and more often than not, you can't really hear that, and that's fine. I mean, people with more tuned ears, I mean, I used to do the production for my record label back in the UK, so I could always hear the separation between the higher frequencies and the lower frequencies when the drivers are split. But, in a venue, etc., you're probably not going to hear that. But it makes it very difficult to mic because, where do you put the mic? You put it too near the tweet and it sounds too, well, that's all you're going to hear, and vice versa. So we deliberately designed it so that the tweeter screws into the center of the woofer, so that when you move the mic around, you get exactly like with the tube amp, you get the whole brighter towards the center, duller towards the outside. But the unexpected, well, I'd love to say we planned this, but we didn't. The unexpected advantage from this thing is it actually creates an 87-degree angle of spread of sound. The way the internal tweeter frequencies affect the mids to lower ranges. So that means, obviously, the audience, no matter where they're stood, get to hear your guitar if you're using it as a backline. If you're stood in front of it, you get to hear it. You don't have to be directly in front of it. You can be to the side of it and still hear it. And when you have the stereo cab, which you've just got, I know, Jared, if you do the blind test, turn your back on it and listen to it, you'll swear those drivers, even though they're only a few inches apart, are maybe 5 or 6 feet apart because of that 87-degree angle. So it really does sound stereo, even though its drivers are kind of just, almost touching each other in there.
Wow. I can't wait
to hear that. Yeah.
Will you guys be at NAMM?
Yeah, we're there. Been going for 9 years. We couldn't afford a booth the first few years, but We've had a booth about last 4. So we'll be in booth 4453 this year, which NAMM have decided to do a complete overhaul. This might be common knowledge of the entire layout. So whereas everything was pretty much in hall A and B, now ironically all the main action is going on in hall E, where the drums used to be. So we're now in hall E. On the back wall, we've got people like Dunlop and Ernie Ball and all sorts of people in that same hall. So we're quite excited actually to be in the right hall for a change. I think last year we were in hall B or something, which wasn't bad. But so yeah, we're there again, but in a new location.
Awesome. Cool.
Yeah, definitely come by and say hi.
Yeah, well, for sure.
I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be doing some live streams for the group and stuff, and so
very cool.
I'll come by and we'll do something with you.
Yeah, no, that would be awesome. Yeah, we always tried to make wherever we can. We've had like a 3-piece play in our booth. We've had all kinds of. A guy turned up with like a 12-string bass guitar and did some stuff and blew one of our Geminis up. That was quite interesting.
That was nice of him.
Well, it just went down too low, you know. So it's like wow. So yeah, the more the merrier. We love kind of people turning up.
Yeah, and then
Paul,
let me put a pitch out for everybody who is going to be down at NAMM with the Helix group. We're gonna have a dinner on the Friday night of NAMM.
Oh yeah, cool.
At Orange, in the city of Orange, at the Citrus City Grill at 6 o'clock at night. I'm going to be there at 5 to get it all set up. But yeah, we made it early enough to where you could come and have dinner, and then you know, at 8 o'clock if you needed to go somewhere else. You know, if you had a prior, you know, somebody who's playing somewhere, they're going to play after 8 o'clock probably. So we kind of scheduled it so that we can have a nice dinner and a nice group dinner. And Paul's coming, and your business partner Paul probably will come.
Yeah. So whether we come together, because obviously I think NAMM doesn't shut till 6. So
yeah.
The chance of us both getting away from the booth is not very likely. So it might just be me on my own, or it might be me and then James joins us.
Well, even if he comes afterwards, it's going to go for a couple of hours probably, and you know, the first half hour after 6 is probably just going to be drinks and.
Sounds good to me.
Yes.
Hey, Chad.
Day at NAMM.
Yo, what?
I got a couple of questions too. One about NAMM is, I guess, are you guys doing summer NAMM too, or are you just doing the?
So again, I kind of alluded to this in some of the posts I put out. We've been going almost 9 years now, but everything we've done has been organic. I mean, we started off with a turnover of about 90,000 a year, and that was after about 18 months of James doing it on his own. And I think last year we did like 1.2 million or something. It sounds great, made almost no profit because we reinvested everything back into products. So we can't afford to do it. It's a simple answer. So we do NAMM, Winter NAMM, because it's the bigger of the two, and it draws more of the international buyers that we want to attract and things like that. We desperately want to go because, I mean, what a cool place to hold it, if nothing else. I mean, I'd like to go there just to be down in Nashville and what have you. And we will get there. Same with Music Medicine. We'd love to go do Music Medicine. We just simply can't afford it. We don't even advertise in magazines and stuff because we don't have the budget for that. So, NAMM costs us probably $12,000 to $14,000 to actually with the booth, and by the time I pay for hotel rooms and everything else, it's not as. Plus, you're dragging your guys, the build team, some of the main engineers in the build team down there as well. So it's not just the cost of doing it; the fact that they're not building any gear while you're away, so you're missing out on potential sales. And so it's actually, from our point of view, quite a big commitment to go to one of these.
That's crazy.
Trade shows, and we love going, and they're always valuable. But it's just that question of affording the money and the time to do them. So, so we haven't been yet, but we are determined to go 1 year. But we just haven't managed to get there yet.
Well, plus you get all those. Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Frank. Okay. Well, let me just ask you this real quick too. This isn't NAMM related, but I saw somebody asking you about covers the other day.
Yeah.
Like, do you have like covers, and I could definitely see the value in that because I mean I'm going to be doing a lot of events this year plus gigs, and it'd be nice to be able to bring my pristine mission cab and set it on the stage and not have, you know, scars and scratches and whatnot. There's a local company, and I'm sure you could probably find, you know, some out in California too. That's why I posted that Tukey covers.
Yeah, I saw it. Awesome. Yeah.
If you saw that, yeah, they're right out here in Michigan, and man, I wonder, I don't know how all that works, but that'd be cool if you could team up with somebody and just outsource your covers. And
so yeah, that's what we did, Jared. But there's a company about 8 miles from where we are that makes covers for us for the Gemini 1, the Gemini 2. We stopped the Gemini 1 covers because they're actually cheaper to buy from this company that makes them. And early on, when we started shipping Geminis 2 years ago, we were selling more Gemini 1s than Gemini 2s. But you know, what amazes me is that we hardly sell any. I mean, so people are either going somewhere else and having them made, or they're getting hard cases made or something. But I can honestly say per annum, less than half a dozen, if that.
So weird.
Covers. It is.
Wow.
So when people raise the question, our struggle, again, with manufacturers is always, well, it's not just the cost of having them made, it's the where to store them, because we only have so much shelf space for pedal chassis and amp chassis and everything else. But it's also how much time and effort, resource do we put into the whole communicating, setting the thing up, getting them designed, testing them, making
and then you
sure
got the capital.
Yeah,
all
and
the
all
capital
those outlays,
sitting there.
And then we sell less than half a dozen a year. So
man.
You know,
why can't you just store them all on your yacht, Paul? I mean, geez.
All that money you're making from those cabs.
That's full of tequila and dancing ladies.
I want to come out and visit you sometime.
You've got to buy the yacht first, but then it will be full of tequila and dancing ladies.
I'm coming to NAMM for sure now. Drinks are on Paul.
Here's the dealio. This is a market to musicians, right?
What's that?
The starving musicians.
Oh yeah.
Musicians who don't have any money. So.
That feeling.
I think the reality too with modelers, though, I mean, at the end of the day, a lot of guys get into modeling because at home they can't use their amps. You know what I mean? They can't use their amps at volume to get the sound they want. So I'd be willing to bet there's a much larger subset of people buying emission cabs that are strictly using them at home to get that full feeling of a cranked amp at a very low volume, right? So I know if I've looked into the mission stuff and it looks fantastic. That's why I'm interested to check you guys out at NAMM. But to be perfectly honest, in some of the shows that I play, we play at such a low volume. I'd rather take my crappy alto out to get banged up and leave my nice stuff at home. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, if I'm doing a corporate event, most of the people, they don't care what my guitar sounds like. You know, that's for me. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that's why we came out of the wedge. So the story behind the wedge is, as I said earlier on, we get as many of our artists, mission artists, to come play on the booth as possible at NAMM. And one of the years they not complained, that's not true, but just said it was difficult with all that noise going on in the hall to hear what they're actually playing and could we do something for them. So James, being James, said, well, I'll develop something for you. So he built one wedge just for NAMM. So the idea was that anyone who played in their booth could actually hear what they were sending out to everyone. And every single artist that played it went, man, this thing just sounds amazing. You have to bring it, to life. So we did. And then we thought about that and we went, well, okay, if we it doesn't come attached because not everyone wants to use it as anything other than a wedge, but it actually stands up. So it becomes a backline or a wedge. So for someone like yourself, it's the perfect solution. So if you want to just hear it yourself, lay it down, use it as a wedge, but you've got an FR wedge, so you really are hearing what's going out to front of house, in terms of sound quality, plus you can get into it and enjoy it yourself. And if you don't need it and you want the audience to hear it, stand it up. Now you've got your backline, so you've got the best of both worlds. We tried to cost optimize it by dropping it down and not offering a Bluetooth option. I don't think. No, I think we do. Do you know? I forget. But we try to get down below the $1,000 mark. So the
and that's powered
in that thing. It has power. It has the FRFR. Wow. It has with or without USB, so you don't have to have the USB. I think it's $1,099 with the USB, which I still think is an amazing feature because you plug it in, you can get anything you want into any piece of software. I mean, how much it costs for a high quality ADDA converter, and you're getting that built into the Gemini. Sure. So that's for the extra $100, it's worth it.
Yeah, that's a really cool feature.
If that's what you tend to do when you play, that would be my recommendation. Go for the wedges because you've got the best of both worlds. And if you want a bit more power and a bit more interest, you can hook two of them together like Cooper Carter does in his video and do big wide stereo effects and things like that.
Nice.
You're lucky to have him do a demo because that guy's sick. He's one of the sickest guitar players out there.
Right?
Well,
I know.
It was a fantastic demo.
Yeah, that was a great demo.
He's such a humble guy, right? He plays with some amazing artists, and he goes and sets up some crazy bands because obviously Fractal send him out to set their rigs up. But he's just the most down-to-earth, nice guy you can ever meet, and he always ends NAMM playing the national anthem, and normally stops everyone in their tracks when he does because he's such a talented player. It's quite funny to actually listen to everything go silent as everyone's just listening to him playing the national anthem, which is quite cool. But yeah, he's just cool. And he should be more recognised than he is. He's definitely one of those. You know, when you find a player that it's not just about how technical you are, it's everything about you feel it. You just he's there. He should really be far better known than he is.
Yeah, I can say no one has ever stopped to hear me play, so I don't know what that feels like. They usually keep walking.
Not yet.
Maybe it's the cab.
That's funny. That's the test, right? Like if you can make people stop, you've arrived. Until then,
that's it.
Keep practicing.
I make people run the other way.
Well, let me ask you this too, Paul. And forgive me if this is a stupid question, but you guys,
never a stupid question.
Well, we'll see.
Not true. That's not true. I asked him.
Well, now what is, you got all these tube guys out there, all these tube lovers and like, oh, tubes rule and blah, blah, blah. What if you had somehow in the cab, you had some way of powering the cab with tubes, and would that warm up our sound and like solve that problem?
Well, it's not a stupid question. It's Line 6 did it, right? They brought out an amp that was basically digital but driven by tubes, and the other people have done it too. Our biggest issue with that is we designed it to be as accurate as possible and as true to life in terms of what the modelers are sending it. The moment you start putting tubes and stuff in it and you start changing the characteristic of the sound, you're undoing all the programming and everything that's been put into the modelers in the first place. So what stopped us from doing it was that we believe, and based on the reviews of people like Cooper Carter, and you're going to find out for yourself now, Jared, obviously, is that if you have a good quality modeler and you have a good preset or you've tweaked it or whatever, and you've got it sounding good, the Gemini should make it sound like a tube amp. It really should. I mean, and I'm looking forward to your review. Completely unbiased. You don't work with us. You have no whatever with us whatsoever. So I'm really interested to see how you get on with your review of it. And that is what I expect you to find. I expect you by the end of it to go, damn, this thing sounds like a tube amp. Well, with the impound knob. That's the whole point of the impound knob. Play around with it until you get with that particular patch or whatever your guitar setup, the sound that you think most represents that.
Weren't the original atomic the original atomic wedges had 6L6s in them? I just saw a pair. It was about a year ago. A guy was selling 2 of them for $275 a piece on that other page, Chad. The page that must not be named. But yeah, they had 6L6s in them, and to me, that fundamentally is you're altering the whole point of getting a modeler in the first place, right? Like you said, because that tube response is kind of already taken into account, and like that's like a puffery, right? It's like you're putting tubes in there to pacify someone because they think tubes sound warmer. I mean, when I used to run my Kemper, I ran it through the Fryette power station, which is a 50-watt 6L6 tube power amp, or load box, but I knew damn well I was coloring the sounds coming out, and I did it intentionally, right? So for me, it wasn't, I didn't care. But that's, you're kind of negating the point of really what modeling is doing.
Yeah, well, I was just, it's a good point, and I guess the reason why I was thinking of it is because I'm surrounded by tube junkies, you know, and and there's all these guys that are like, oh, you know, digital, blah blah blah. But see, on my show, and I'll say this, I don't care. On my show, you can go through my show list, and you'll see a show where I had a whole studio. We had probably $40,000 worth of amplifiers in the studio that day. It was insane. We had them stacked to the bottom of God's feet, you know, and it was crazy. And we recorded, you know, I put in a riff on DI, you know, and then we reamped it through all these amps while we were eating lunch. It was hilarious. And so what I did is I modeled all these amps on my Helix. And when I released the episode, I you know, everybody voted on what was what. It's thinking, you know, is this the Helix or is this the you know, 5150? Yeah. Even the people that brought amps got it wrong. Got it wrong. You know, that's Mr. Awesome. Tube Boy, you know, the guy that, you know, he's a buddy of mine, but you know, he's always like messing with me on Facebook. But even he thought my Helix was his amp.
That's funny. That's awesome. That's awesome. What's the name of your show?
Tone Wars.
Tone Wars. Okay.
Yeah, Tone Wars, and we're just getting started. I've had several episodes, but I mean, I got a ton more stuff coming. But
Jared has a section on the Friendly Gear Freaks as a noteworthy friend.
Okay.
Yes.
And Jeremy,
thank you.
Get your Jeremy, get your Dunky Donuts.
Dunkies, yeah, Dunkies and Demos.
Dunkies and Demos. That's it.
Oh, that's what it is. Oh, are you on EVH Gear TV as well, Jeremy?
I've not been on there, no, but I am familiar with them.
Yeah, you're familiar. Yeah, I think he's mentioned you at one time. Eric has.
So you should. We'll get you a special section on the site.
Nice.
So just to come back to a point you made, and here's an admission. I'm not sure that I should make, but I'm going to make it anyway.
Wait, let me start. I got to hit record. Hold on.
Yeah, absolutely. So we hand wire and hand solder every mission pedal. Well, not every mission pedal now, but early on we did that for exactly the same reason, that people swore blind that if you had a pedal that was hand soldered and everything else in terms of the joint and, you know, loss of signal, it was superior to having something on a board. And so we did that for years, just appease people that said, you know, it had to be done that way. And we still make most of our pedals that way, just because now we're doing it, why stop? But the truth is, again, that's just really an urban legend. Yeah, sure, a cheap, nasty components board versus hand wired, you're going to hear it. But you have the cool components and that, you know. Yeah. So it's along the same thing that people do have, you know, the whole taste thing. You can think, you know, you eat with your eyes. I'm going completely off topic here, but this might interest you. There was a guy in the UK called Paul McKenna. He's a hypnotist, and he did this amazing show where he proved to me, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that we want to believe things and we make things in our head come real. So what he did was he took a group of men and women. The only rule was they weren't allowed to eat food after 6 p.m. the night before. He took them to what we call a greasy spoon in the UK, which is like a cafeteria on the side of a freeway, where they do what we call an English breakfast, which is like fried bacon, fried egg, fried everything, right? Really bad for you, but we love it in the UK. And he took them in there. They sat down, every single one of them. I think there were 6 of them, 3 men, 3 women. They finished their plate, cleared it completely. They went, oh, that was fantastic. Really loved it. Delicious. You know, thanks very much. They repeated the same exercise 1 week later. The only difference was, same cafeteria, same food. They blindfolded them and they cut their food up for them. Not one of the people finished their food. They all complained about tasting too salty, too greasy, too this, too that. I can't remember. This was quite a few years ago. The only difference was they didn't see it. So in their heads, they had looked at this plate of what they would consider to be delicious food, told their brain it was going to be delicious, and it was delicious. But when they had that taken away from them and all they had was their sense of taste, they suddenly started tasting things that weren't there before. And I think it's the same issue with this whole tube versus digital versus hand wired versus, you know.
It's a bit of it happens a lot in the forums, is the confirmation bias. Well, I paid a lot of money for this, so it's better. And I need other people to agree, and they will not let it go. In fact, a lot of the when I started the Facebook group, we had a lot of people that started to come in like that, and I actually I jettisoned them, because here's the thing: it isn't about being a fanboy or not. It's about dropping the preconceived notion and coming over. And I did the blind tests. I've done blind tests before, and honestly, I actually hate comparison, because let's say Fractal and Helix. The model that they modeled are different. There's going to be some differences in the tone. Even if they use the same structure, they're going to be different. And so now you cap it with some other aftermarket IR and a different structure for your onboard cabinets or whatever, and it's going to sound different. You can't really the comparison. Comparisons are really, even though I've done some, even though people love them, I don't think they're as scientific as people would want them.
Well, and that's why I do all blind comparisons on my show, and it's not, my goal on my show isn't to, you know, this is better than that. It's just, can you tell the difference, you know, Captain Tube Boy, can you tell the difference between a tube amp and a digital, you know, processor if it's dialed in properly? Because don't listen with your eyes, listen with your ears. So I don't tell them what's what. They have to guess. And I'm not kidding you. Every single person that brought an amp that day, and I had a lot of amps. I had everything in there. It was crazy. None of them got it right. Not one guy. Everybody that owned an amp guessed wrong. And it was crazy. And the guy that ended up winning the prize was a guy that didn't have a horse in the race at all. So it was crazy, you know. It was really cool how that worked out. And it's true. People, that's why people do, you know, when I do, I even do that at my house. I do the beer tastings, you know, and it's all blind. You know, you don't get to see what's what. And it's amazing how many people will bring in their favorite beer and say, well, my beer is going to win because mine's the best. And they end up scoring their beer a 2 out of 10.
And lo and behold, everybody loves a Budweiser.
Yeah. Oh, God.
But no, it's funny.
Budweiser beer.
Yeah. Chad, maybe a week ago, I posted a clip of one of the Live Ready Sound IRs and the same patch, the native patch, with just stock cabs. And it was kind of the same time where you made your post about, if I hear one more person say you can't get a good sound. And I just posted, this is an A, this is a B. It wasn't meant to be a comparative study. It was meant to say, both of these sound good for what they are. And yes, one of them are stock cabs. But it instantly turned into, well, I can tell this. And again, half the people were wrong that thought they knew which one was a stock cab. And even Tim was like, at first he guessed the stock cab was his IR. So that, to me, my point was like, you can get a good sound with stock cabs. It wasn't, does an IR sound better or does a stock cab sound better? It was, again, just a comparison, not even a comparison, just an opportunity to say, look at, in every clip that I posted, people say, if they say it sounds great, I say it's a stock cab. There's no way it can sound great because stock cabs suck, right? So, but it's funny how, like, you know, people, they want to believe because I use own hammers or because I use this. Again, nothing against those. I think, honestly, I think the Live Ready sounds are probably the best IRs I've tried.
Well, I got a little something to say about IRs. And when my first foray was into the red wires, big box. Okay. When I downloaded like 30 gigs worth, and you know how big one of those files are, and there was like 50,000 IRs to go through, I went, oh, hell no.
Well, I mean, the thing is, right, everything at the end of the day is subjective. And all that really matters, we all want people to like our music, whether we're doing a cover or something unique, whatever. We want people to like it. So there is, I guess, a certain social pressure to sound a certain way because it's kind of what we've been used to hearing on the radio or internet, whatever, for so long now that you have to conform to some extent if you want to be popular, if you want to appeal to the masses, because we're to some extent programmed, I guess. But what really matters is what do we think? If we like our sound, whatever our sound sounds like, that's all that matters. Because if anything, you want your sound to be a little bit different. You want it to stand out from the rest because you're going to sound like somebody else already out there. What's the point? Unless you are trying to do a cover, of course. You know, so I think, you know, if you like it, and we all know a good tone versus a bad tone or a good sound versus a bad sound. That should be all that matters at the end of the day. And anyone who wants to argue about that doesn't sound as good as that, well, that doesn't sound as good as that to you, in which case you go with option A, because I like option B and I'm going to go with that option B. And that's what makes us human. That's what makes the world such an amazing place and gives us the variety of the stuff that we do day in, day out, right? Is because we are all different. We know what we like, what we don't like. And so I think the whole comparing apples and pears, pointless. Just pick your fruit and eat it.
That's it. Eat your fruit.
Yeah.
Perfect. And
that
goes into the whole thing about downloading other people's presets. I mean, I have my own presets that are out there. Big book. You know what? You may download it and you're going to go, that stinks. That's horrible. Why would this guy even put this out? It's because I like what I like, and it's through my set of gear, which is tuned the way I got my set of tuned, and I using my hot pickups on this guitar or my custom Strat.
Yeah.
You don't have my gear. You don't have my settings. You don't have this. You
don't have your hands.
I was just gonna say.
And you don't have my ears. So, the whole thing about preset sucking, and they sort of do. Build your own. It's easy.
Yeah. Build your own. The thing is, you know, as far as the IRs go, you know, I know you guys are saying that the Ownhammer. Don't get me started on Ownhammer, but I have to admit, man, I'm using an Ownhammer Impulse right now. That's just blowing my mind. It's so good. And
it's just option paralysis for me. It's option paralysis. I can't, you know, there's so many of them that come in, and I have them all. I'm that jerk who bought them all and doesn't use any of them. You know, I've got the Marshall UK collection. I've got the studio bundle. I've got both heavy hitters, and I never. It's like I start looking and I get so fatigued that the subtle differences at some point, I don't know, something like this, hell with it, just stick that one in there and use it. You know,
just give me chocolate. I'm sick of looking at the 36 flavors. You know, yeah. It's you freeze when the menu's too big. You know, you don't know what the hell you want. You know, where if they gave you 3 different flavors to pick from, that's why all the classy restaurants you go to, their menu isn't like a freaking Encyclopedia Britannica. It's like 5 things.
That's it.
You know, and pick one of these 5 things and we'll cook it for you. Other than that, see you later. You know, and that's kind of their attitude. And you know, I agree. You could get caught up in the IR, you know, the IR pool, you know, and get lost in it. But
people are
I spent the time.
What are you using? Which one?
I used the EVH. I got the Heavy Hitters Volume 2. I forgot what it's called because I named it so I wouldn't lose it. You know, I named it my, you know, favorite IR or something. OR-72-1. Yeah. I know. I hate the names because they're so stupid. You're like, exactly. It's like a 5 feet long name. You're like, how am I supposed to remember that crap? You know, but
when you look at it in the Helix, you're like, I don't even know what it is. They all look the same.
Yeah. But yeah, exactly.
Rich, you use Ownhammers, don't you?
Me?
Yeah. Rich, don't you use IRs?
Yeah, but I'm kind of on the fence now with the whole FR thing and using a power amp, and I just can't get used to it. I just cannot. I played a gig last night. I used the Ownhammer. I think it's the checkerboard, the Marshall checkerboard. One of those. And like you guys are saying, you know, I went through, and then Jeremy, the same thing. The hell with this. I just picked one. I didn't even look. I just threw it in there because they all. I mean, I don't hear the difference on a lot of them, They don't hear the difference. And you got guys that are like, oh, my finely tuned ears can hear this.
Right.
Oh yeah.
You're bullshitting me with all these. You're bullshitting me. They're not different.
Yeah, I'm the IR whisperer. I can hear it all. Yeah, okay, whatever, buddy.
And you ever notice that
come train my horse.
The IR guys are just as brutal as the modeler loyalists, right? Like if you don't like 3 Sigma IRs, I'm going to come to your house. I'm going to beat you.
I
think that's horrible.
Well,
See, I'm different. If you do like 3 Sigma IRs, I'm going to come to your house and beat you.
I will go on the record. I will go on the record and say Donkeys and Demos does not endorse 3 Sigma IRs. I've got multiple packs. I got the updates.
I hated them.
I don't like them. They don't sound like real cabinets or speakers.
No.
They sound
busy as hell.
Yeah, and they're boomy. I got the EVH and the Friedman, and neither one of them. I know I have had both those cabinets. Neither one of them sound like those IRs.
They're so fizzy. They almost sound like when you delete the cab.
Well, the thing that sucks is like when you hear the sound samples that they have. I'm a big believer that if you're a retailer of a product like an IR, when you put those sound samples up online, it should not be multi-tracked, and there should be zero post-processing whatsoever.
Yes.
And you should say, if I'm playing, this was recorded with a Les Paul Trad Pro with this 57 Classic, straight. Yep. No anything. No high pass, no low pass. Don't give me an idealized version. Because when I download those Friedmans, I got the Friedman, the Framus, and I think they're Hiwatt. All of them just garbage, garbage.
Dude, I pass the bucket around. This guy's preaching, man. Because I'm telling you right now, I agree with that 1,000,000,000%. Because every single IR I've bought from, especially, well, I don't want to bash people, but some of these companies, it's like you put it in, and I'm like, what the hell? It's like ordering a pizza and it comes frozen, and you're like, oh, I gotta cook this? Like,
you gotta make all these cuts and
what the hell? You know, and it's fizzy and crappy, and I'm like, what is wrong with me? Like, seriously, and I think it's false advertising. I really do.
I absolutely do, and that's why I will say I'm not affiliated in any sort of way. But I love the way Celestion sets up their IRs. They're named simply. There's not too many of them. But Tim at Live Ready Sound, here's what they say. It just tells you what the mic is. It's version 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. And for the most part, they sound pretty damn good. And it's easy. You know, and it's the same thing with the Helix, right? I've never looked at the manual for this thing from the day I got it. I got it. I just started using it. My buddy Jorma that I'm posting, the guy that's got my LT right now, same thing. He just posted a video, or I've shared his video. He's using the Recto. He's running one output into his interface, and then he's got the other output going into an amp and then a cab. So on his own, he's not using the editor. He's not looked in the booklet, and on his own, he's just figured out how to split it up to get multiple ways. Just like if you were going to send to front of the house and to your cabinet on sync. That's how easy this thing is, but that's how it should be. Don't muck it all up.
Yeah, I don't want to cook my pizza after I order it and get it delivered. When
I buy a sandwich, don't show me where the fixins bar is. The guy back there better put my tomatoes on.
Exactly. Yeah, it's ridiculous, and that is one thing I did like about Ownhammer is that they didn't have to do a whole bunch of post-processing to them when I got them. I just put them in. Yeah, you got to do a little bit of a low cut and a little bit of a high cut here and there, depending on what you're doing, but man, some of these, like the 3 Sigma, you had to bring the low cut down to 6. The 6K. I'm like, are you serious? Like, you have that much fizz? It's like bees in a can. It was horrible.
There's no saving those things. There's no saving them. The only way you save those things is to delete them off your computer.
That's
what I did. They're almost like IR viruses. They're freaking.
Now, just remember, some
zombies. Yeah.
If you understand how guitar cabs and stuff are working, their speaker response is between 80 and 6K. Guitar speaker. So it makes sense that you would cut it down that low. And in fact, my OTB presets, they're at 4.9K. That's the high cut.
So why are we getting all this extra K then? I mean, I'm getting like you know, 10K. I'm getting special K in some of these. It's like freaking. It's ridiculous.
That's value for dollar. That's your ROI.
Oh yeah.
You're getting more for your money.
The extra K.
That's right. Now it's 23% more K.
I don't know why they're throwing it in there, but that's just what happens. But that's why I really appreciate the the stock cabs on the Helix and whatnot. But hey, I tell you what, we've been on here almost 2.5 hours, and the whole thing is leaving wanting more. So
yeah,
we'll wrap it up. I appreciate everyone being here. Do you think we should do some more of these or what?
I think we should what?
Do we do any more of these?
Yeah,
oh, yeah.
I'm down.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Don't let me talk though.
As long as I'm not at the movies.
Okay. Next time we'll all sing a song together.
What we need to do is
Kumbaya, my lord.
time that we could do this on a regular basis. So, but we want to make it open to lots of people, and that's the hard part. Is there's a global interest, but I'm on the West Coast, and
oh yeah, I've been doing those streams during the morning on East Coast because it's the only time I can get this house.
Yeah, and you've got your Rocker Dad podcast. So
right.
how's that?
I got to get that going again. Well, I took a break because of this whole. I think I've mentioned it. The house, trying to sell my house and buy a house. So my whole reason for going to NAMM is to bring a bunch of business cards for the podcast and a bunch of my CDs and stuff that I have, and just passing them out.
Well, just remember, you're one of my noteworthy friends on the forum.
Right. Yep.
So make sure you take advantage of that. Right now we got 700 members on there. It's gonna grow. We're getting 300 hits a day, which it's not fantastic, but it's 1 month old. So
yeah.
Oh yeah.
So that's it. So that is fantastic. But it's only gonna grow, and the whole idea of a friendly gear page is one that's supportive of people. Yes, you can disagree, but you don't have to be a jerk about it. And,
Right.
Well, so far nobody's been bad on there at all.
No, yeah, and
It's been great.
And Mike, he's actually surpassed me on posts and I appreciate it, Mike. Very, very excellent. I appreciate your support, and I thank you for being there. And remember, there's a giveaway. And Paul, can you, at one final note, can you explain what you're throwing into the giveaway?
Yeah, sure. Just before I do that, because mentioning NAMM, I assume the guys that all of us talking here at the moment, you have tickets, because if not, we get a certain amount of tickets allocated to us as a company. So if you need any help with that, just reach out to me on Messenger, and I might be able to help you with a NAMM ticket. Just like throw that out there.
Wonderful.
Awesome. Thank you.
We only have limited numbers,
Awesome.
but we never use them all up. So so yeah, we just basically put in an EP1 L6. So it's the pedal without the toe switch. It's in a custom green to make it a bit more special. And it works with all line 6 gears, so not just the Helix, but pods, Firehawks, etc. So we just threw that in to make it hopefully a bit more special.
Yeah, I thank you for that, and I appreciate that. And then I'm going to do a post about that. Well, I thank you all for being here, and again, the Friendly Gear Freaks .com and also L6gear.com if you want any of the protectors. And here's a little announcement. The sunshade for modelers. Have that sunshades are going to be getting released here soon. So
you got that figured out.
What?
You got that figured out. I mean, you and I had talked about that a while back because I was trying to come up with something and I just didn't have the time.
We're basically we've got it designed, and we just got to build it and test it, and then it'll be ready to go.
Cool.
These will be kind of generic. They'll be allowed. You can use it for an AX8. You can use it for the LT. You can use it. Frankly, you could turn it and add it to a pedal board. And if you had anything with a screen that you need to see, to be able to use it for that too. Plus, it would act as a deflector for spills. Not going to be like the protectors that I have, but it'd be enough to deflect something coming from the stage or from the. So.
especially if it's cheap beer. I had one question before we go. And
Sorry, time's up.
You guys. Paul, what kind of speaker is that in the mission cab? Is it a Celestion or what is it?
No, it's kind of confidential. We have them made by a well-known US company.
Okay. All right. I just wondered because for my review, I wanted to.
Three Sigma?
I mean, sorry?
3 Sigma, that's right. That's why they said I'm so good.
I'm taking a shotgun to it if it's the 3 Sigma. Boom!
Yeah.
So it's a special proprietary speaker then?
I don't suppose it matters too much because they are built to our specification. You can't just go out and get them. They're Eminence basically drivers in there.
Nice.
But we have them
nice.
designed for us.
Eminence are legit drivers, man.
Yeah,
they're what?
they are. We tried
legit.
We tried them all, and they were the ones we thought sounded the best, and we went with those. And then we had them tweaked, etc.
What are they called again?
Eminence.
Eminence? Okay.
Yep.
But
right.
probably don't put that in the review, say because it's not.
Oh,
something
that's what I was going to ask you. Okay, so don't put that in the review. Okay.
No, yeah.
So I'll just say it's proprietary. You ever heard of that brand?
Nobody's going to listen to this 2.5 hour broadcast, so they won't hear it.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, since no one's going to listen to it, I'm coming out. Just kidding.
Again? What are you doing?
Again, yeah, right. We heard you the first time.
I'm coming out as a fractal user.
Oh, jeez.
All right, guys. It's been fun. It's been fun to do it. We'll do it again. Thank you all for being
Great, guys.
Cool.
All right, guys.
It's great talking to you guys. Thank you.
Likewise.
Fine.
See you.
I'll get on here early
Okay.
next time.
Take care.
Guys.
Thanks, Rich.
See ya.
Bye-bye.
See you guys.